Chapter 30-33. Aside from the slight pain from the stitches, he was no different from a normal person. Everyone's mind was still filled with the terrifying image of the bloody ball on his head. Now that they saw the unscathed youth, the shock in their hearts couldn't be described with words. And the jade fingers that had just healed Jing Little Fatty with her miraculous medical skills were currently grasping Wang He's neck. Her bright red lips slightly curled up, revealing a shallow and languid smile. "Little Fatty Jing, how did he treat you just now? Do you want to do the same to him now?" Jing Little Fatty was startled at first. Then he heard the clear and resolute voice of a girl on the verge of death. Only by living can one see new hope and happiness. Even if you and Axian are already in two different worlds, would never want you to give up on yourself, to end your life without putting in any effort, without experiencing a complete life. If you die in such a cowardly manner, even if you reach the other end of the bridge of helplessness, would you still have the face to see her? Jing Little Fatty felt his eyes become wet and hot, something quickly flowing down. He hurriedly wiped it away. God, June was right. How could he give up on himself? He still had to worry about his father and brother. There was also a large group of like-minded brothers who grew up together, worked hard together. Indulging in lost emotions, letting himself sink into depravity, was that what Axian wanted to see? No. He still had many dreams that had yet to be realized. Especially one, which was the dream that he and Axian shared. They had once said that they would push their great god Yi to the top of the cultivation world. He wanted her to become the true supreme ruler. But now, their idol, the god they supported, was being attacked and framed by others. At this time, what should he really do? Jing Little Fatty's face suddenly bloomed with the same wretched smile as before. He ran over, picked up the dagger that Wang He dropped, and said with a smile, "God June, let me do it, let me do it. How could I let you do this kind of rough work?" He raised the dagger, and made a cut on Wang He's head. Then he picked up the porcelain bottle on the ground. The poison that Mu Yan had just extracted from his body was gathered in this porcelain bottle. Wang He felt the pain on his scalp, and screamed in fear, "No, no, no, don't. Don't kill me. Marquis, save me. Alliance leader Jing, save me, save me." Jing Xiaopang looked at the wailing Wang He with a sinister expression. "What was the name of this potion that can peel off a person's skin? Oh, by the way, you haven't taken it yet. Why don't I pick one for you now? How about skin peeler? Don't you like skinning people? Now, have a taste of the feeling of having your skin and flesh peeled off while you're still alive." With that said, Jing Xiaopang lifted the porcelain bottle in his hand and poured the poison into Wang He's brain. "Oh!" Shrill screams resounded throughout the entire Phoenix Sky mountain range, causing most of the cultivators on the Demon Massacre Square to have a fearful and solemn expression. His methods are too cruel. He actually used such a cruel method to torture a doctor. An evil demon is an evil demon. As expected, they are cruel by nature. If we don't kill this demoness today, I'm afraid the entire cultivation world will never have a day of peace. Chapter 30-34. Su Zi felt nauseous as he listened to the discussions of the people around him. When Wang He had wanted to skin Jing Xiaopang earlier, no one had objected. But now, little Missy was merely giving him a tooth for a tooth and an eye for an eye, but this group of people acted as if their tails had been stepped on. They kept accusing little Missy of being a demon. Didn't these people know that their faces were 100 times more disgusting and ugly than the demons in their mouths? Jing Tianyi was enjoying the sight of Wang He's tragic state with great interest. Only when Wang He breathed his last in agony did Jing Tianyi speak nonchalantly, "Miss June, do you know that your actions just now have been recorded by someone using a mirage stone and transmitted to every main city of the cultivation continent through Tianguang ruins? You're cruel, vicious, and vengeful nature has been completely exposed in front of everyone. From now on, there will be no place for you, the unfettered 7 demons, in the entire cultivation continent. At this point, Miss June still intends to struggle on her deathbed. Jing Tiany's words alarmed Su Zi, Kong Yuanzhou, and the others. They instantly understood Jing Tiany's sinister intentions. Kong Yuanzhou angrily drew his long sword and was about to attack Jing Tiany. However, before the long sword could be unsheathed, someone pressed down on its scabbard. The girl's clear and indifferent voice resounded in his ears, "Elder Kong, don't be impatient." Only then did Kong Yuanzhou realize that Mu Yan had come down from the chaotic tower at some point. That slender jade-like hand that had just saved a life was currently pressed down on the hilt of his sword. Kong Yuanzhou was stunned, but he still couldn't suppress his anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "Miss June, this group of bastards who invert black and white and call a deer a horse are really intolerable bullies." Jing Tiany chuckled. "Miss June is truly the leader of the demons. You're already at the end of the road, yet you're still so calm." Mu Yan turned her head and curled her lips into a smile. "At the end of the road? With just you guys? Jing Tiany, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Or are you thinking too highly of this group of motley crew?" Jing Tiany's expression immediately darkened. "You're about to die, but you still dare to boast so shamelessly. June Mayan, do you know that everything that happens in the devil-slaying assembly will be shown to every corner of the Shuzhen continent through the Mirage Stones? The more arrogant and ruthless you act now, the more you expose your true nature as an evil demon." Mu Yan clicks her tongue twice. "I'm afraid that Union Master Jing's level of education is not very good. You have some misunderstanding of the word shameless boasting. A group of so-called transcending tribulation stage cultivators, the heads of clans and sects, were completely defeated by my 6 nascent soul martial brothers. They were utterly humiliated. With this kind of conduct, you still have the nerve to form the demon-slaying alliance. You still have the nerve to say that you will uphold justice in the world. Tisk tsk, the world is supported by a group of idiots like you. I'm afraid everyone wants to cry." Jing Tiany didn't expect that not only was June Mayan's innate talent astonishing, but she also had a sharp tongue. He could barely keep his composure. The other cultivators on the square were about to go mad with anger. Shameless maniac. Where did this silly little girl come from? She actually dares to be so presumptuous here. What kind of thing is the Xiaoyao sect? A few little bastards that crawled out from a corner of the blue cloud world. They're not even fit to carry our shoes, yet they still dare to step on our noses. Chapter 30-35. Did you see how Shurqing, the leader of the Xiaoyao sect, knelt before Master Ho like a dog and begged for his life? What good can a disciple taught by such trash be? As soon as the person who had insulted Shurqing finished, Mu Yan suddenly plucked the sky demon zither. Clang! The zither sounded hurriedly, and countless energy turned into sound blades, shooting towards the person. The person was also a peak out-of-body realm cultivator, but he couldn't even react before screaming. Blood spurted all over his body, and he fell to the ground. Mu Yan retracted her hand from the zither and said coldly, "Watch your mouth. If you dare to insult my master again, don't blame me for taking your dog life." The person who was hit by the sound blades didn't die, but the tendons in his limbs were instantly cut. He fell into a pool of blood and wailed in pain, unable to say a word. Everyone was shocked by Mu Yan's sudden outburst. But what scared them more was her strength. A peak out-of-body realm cultivator couldn't even block a random sound attack from her. This, fatally beautiful killing god, this demoness, just how powerful was her current strength? Mu Yan, I didn't expect a demonic place like the Xiaoyao sect to be so united. Why don't you turn around and see who is in my hands? Mu Yan turned around. She saw Chu Xinyan holding Shi Qing's neck and walking slowly to the evil punishing platform. Because of the chaotic tower, more than half of the evil punishing platform was destroyed. The Starry School people who had been controlled on the evil punishing platform were also rescued into the chaotic tower and could no longer be hostages. Only Shi Qing, who had betrayed and begged for mercy. When the chaotic tower fell, he wasn't on the evil punishing platform, so he was still in Chu Xinyan's hands. Mu Yan's eyes turned cold. Let go of my master. Chu Xinyan smiled. You want me to let go of your master? Sure. Then throw down the zither in your hands, walk over, and surrender yourself. This marquis promises you that as long as you're obedient, this marquis will at least keep your life. After all, such an outstanding beauty, such superb medical skills. It would be such a pity if you died like this. Absolutely not. Jun Amos, yeah, don't listen to him. Be it the Starry School teachers and students in the Chaotic Tower or Su Zi's group, all of them could not help but shout. Great God Jun, your master, he's not a good person. Back on the execution of evil, he betrayed the Carefree Society. He even planned to sneak into the Chaotic Tower to poison you all. God Jun, you can't sacrifice yourself for such a traitor. Hearing the discussions around him, Mu Yan couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. If the Starry School students and Su Zi's group were not saying these words, she would have given them a slap. But since everyone was saying the same thing, it was obvious that what they said was true. Mu Yan couldn't help but cast a doubtful look at Shi Qing. Master is a traitor. How was this possible? In recent years, Shi Qing's body had been ruined and he had been drinking all year round, so his figure had become much more stooped. At this time, Chu Xinyan lifted him up by the back of his collar. His feet couldn't touch the ground. He couldn't help but cry out in fright, Yen Yen, my good disciple, quickly save your master. Don't listen to these people's nonsense. I love the seven of you the most. How could I betray you? Don't forget, you were only able to enter the Carefree Society because I discovered you during the sect competition and saved your life. Chapter 30-36. You won't leave your master in the lurch, will you? Quick, put down the zither and come over. Your master really doesn't want to die. On my inside, whether it's Longting, Xingchen, or Yuanwu village, they are all infuriated by Shi Qing's shamelessness. Bah, don't dream. Great God Jun has already seen through your true colors and will never be fooled by you again. Shi Qing, you are too shameless. As a master, you actually want to use your disciple's life to exchange for your own. The Xiaoyao's 7 sons are obviously such good people, how could they have such a shameless and selfish master? Chu Xinyan snorts coldly and suddenly raises his voice. The hand on Shi Qing's neck suddenly tightens. Jun Mayan, have you thought it through? If you don't surrender now, your master will really lose his life. Mayan slightly lowers her eyes and slowly steps forward. Everyone thinks that she is really going to abandon herself to save Shi Qing, and they immediately become anxious. Kong Yuanzhou and the others even want to rush forward to stop her. However, at this moment, Mayan suddenly raises her hand and plucks the zither. Marquis, be careful. Miao Yu's cry of alarm makes Chu Xinyan's heart skip a beat and he quickly steps back. With a swoosh, countless zither blades brush past his and Shi Qing's bodies. A few of them cut Shi Qing's clothes. There is even one that directly cut off Chu Xinyan's hair. Chu Xinyan has a lingering fear and inexplicable alarm. Of course, that sound blade attack just now could not really hurt him. But the sound blade is attached to the vigorous spiritual power and sharp sword intent, making Chu Xinyan unable to help but feel terrified. He calms his mind with great difficulty, but then he becomes angry out of shame. Good. June Mayan, it seems that you don't want your master's life anymore. Then this Marquis will help you. Don't. Marquis, spare me, spare me. Shirqing immediately screams like a pig being slaughtered, his hands and feet fluttering in the air. Marquis, listen to me, this lowly one's life is still useful, absolutely useful. Chu Xinyan coldly says, useful. Useful, useful, absolutely useful. Shirqing gritted his teeth and said with righteous indignation, June Mayan, that ingrate, is ruthless, but that's because she only stayed in the Xiaoyao school for 1 or 2 years. But my other disciples are different. They were all raised by me, and they all treat me like their own father. They would never leave me in the lurch. Marquis, believe me. These words made Chu Xinyan hesitate for a moment. Jing Tianyi glanced at Shirqing and suddenly asked Xue Zhaoguang, where are the other 6 of the unfettered 7 devils? Xue Zhaoguang snorted coldly. Gritting his teeth, he said, just now, I saw those 6 people meditating in the chaotic tower. They haven't come out yet. I'm afraid that they are in closed-door training to advance. Hearing this, everyone at the scene gasped in shock. What the fuck? Were these little devils even human? It wasn't enough for June Mayan to advance, and now the remaining 6 also want to advance. June Mayan alone was already so frightening, what if there were 6 more people? The unfettered 7 devils were already so frightening when they were still at the leaving body and nascent soul stages. What if they became crossing tribulation and leaving body stages? All the cultivators present shuddered in unison. At the same time that they felt fear in their hearts, a strong killing intent welled up. Such a frightening opponent, such a fire seed, they must cut the weeds and eliminate the roots before they completely matured. Jing Tianyi said in a low voice, Marquis, this Shirqing might really be useful in a while. Let's leave him with his dog life for now. Chapter 30-37. Shirqing nodded repeatedly. Hee, that's right. Keep this old man alive, it will definitely be useful. Chu Xinyan looked at this matter with disgust and disdain. In the end, he only tied the binding immortal rope around his body and threw him to the side. Jing Tianyi is already coldly looking at June Mayan. However, the words that came out of his mouth were clearly directed at everyone present. As the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for a lifetime. Even if Shirqing is greedy for life and afraid of death, he still has the grace of raising and saving the unfettered 7 devils. June Mayan, this devil, can even abandon her own master's life. It's enough to see how ruthless and heartless these demons are. If they can be merciless to their own master today, it means that they won't kill the innocent in my purple cloud realm or the entire cultivation continent in the future. So, these evil spirits must be exterminated today. Just as the last word, was uttered, Jing Tianyi, Chu Xinyan, and Xiahou Zun had already soared into the sky. They had caught the enemy off guard and launched a ferocious attack. The targets of their attacks were precisely the unfettered 6 sons who were in seclusion within the chaotic tower. For a moment, everyone in the square held their breath. These 3 people were all famous swordsmen on the blue sky ranking. Chu Xinyan was 3rd, Jing Tianyi 5th, and Xiahou Zun 6th. Usually, when one of them made a move alone, the mountains would collapse and the earth would crack. Now that the 3 of them were attacking together, would Mayan and the chaotic tower be able to stop them? Almost everyone shook their heads. They were very confident that Chu Xinyan and the others would be able to kill the unfettered 6 sons. No matter how strong the defenses of the chaotic pagoda were. No matter how heaven-defying June Mayan's talent is, how could she withstand the joint attack of 3 tribulation-passing experts? The moment Chu Xinyan and the other 2 soared into the sky, Mayan's fingers are already strumming the Tian Mo Qin. The sound of the zither reverberated in cadence. In the blink of an eye, a barrier made of zither notes appeared before the chaotic tower. Divine hands weaving the heavens, activated. Boom! The entire heavenly Phoenix mountain range seemed to shake violently. Some of the younger generation of the aristocratic families and sects couldn't even sit properly and fell from their chairs. The powerful pressure caused all the cultivators at the crossing calamity stage and above to turn pale, and their internal organs to churn. Just based on this, one could tell how powerful the attacks of Chu Xinyan and the other two were. However, the chaotic pagoda did not budge. It didn't even shake like when Xue Zhaoguang chopped down with his sword. This was awkward. Chu Xinyan, Jing Tianyi, and Xiahou Zun's faces turned ashen. The three of them exchanged glances and launched their second wave of attacks at the same time. Under the chaotic tower, Mu Yan, who was playing the zither with both hands, had a somewhat pale complexion. But his movements were also extremely fast. The sound of the zither was noisy, like the sound of a powerful army. Divine hands weaving the heavens was activated once more. The difference was that talisman markings were faintly flowing on the wall of sound this time. Boom! After a loud explosion, everything returned to normal. The chaotic tower was still peaceful and serene. After a moment of silence, there was a burst of cheers. These cheers were like slaps that ruthlessly slapped Chu Xinyan, Jing Tianyi, and Xiahou Zun's faces. 3 swordsmen ranked in the top 10 of the Green Sky list couldn't even break through the protective shield created by a little girl's zither music. Who would believe such a joke? Suddenly, someone in the square cried out in surprise, a formation in mid-air. How is this possible? The one who spoke was the head of the Killing Rakshasa sect, Lei Hong. The Killing Rakshasa sect had always been devoted to the research of formations and formation plates. Lei Hong, the head of the Killing Rakshasa sect, was the only formation master at the Crossing Calamity stage. Chapter 30-38. However, at this moment, Lei Hong looked at the protective barrier outside the chaotic tower and revealed an indescribable expression. When everyone looked at it, they realized that the faintly discernible runes on the protective barrier were actually a complete defensive formation. It was this formation and the sound barrier that blocked the joint attack of the 3 tribulation-passing cultivators. But without array discs and crystals, how did the talisman arrays take shape? And how did they work? She only used a zither. Everyone looked at the zither-playing girl in shock. Just a moment ago, she had displayed her miraculous medical skills to the crowd. And now, her ability to set up an array in mid-air shocked everyone to the point that their souls almost leaped out of their bodies. Jun Mayan. How many more tricks did she have up her sleeves? Was there anything in the world that she couldn't do? Jing Tianyi's gaze fell on Jun Mayan. In fact, he already knew that she had broken Fusang City's 10 ultimate formation and cleansing Le Pavilion's 10,000 raging formation. But how could hearing about it compare to seeing it with his own eyes? This woman was really too powerful and terrifying. No matter what, he must get rid of Jun Mayan and the Xiao Yao sect today. If she was given the chance to continue growing, the threat she would pose in the future would be unimaginable. But it was also because of this woman's strength that they couldn't fight her head-on. Otherwise, as the leader of the Demon Extermination Alliance, Jing Tianyi's cleansing Le Pavilion and the Horton tribe would have to take the lead. At that time, even if they killed Jun Mayan and obtained the treasures, cleansing Le Pavilion would suffer heavy losses. On the contrary, when the Sandpiper and Clam fought, the fishermen would benefit. Thinking of this, Jing Tianyi glanced at the 6 people of the Xiao Yao sect who were still meditating in the chaotic tower. He said in a low voice, looking at the airflow around these 6 little demons, it's impossible for them to advance without a day's effort. The most important thing right now is to get rid of Jun Mayan before the other 6 wake up. Chu Xinyan and Xiahou Zun both looked at Jing Tianyi. Jing Tianyi looked at everyone in the plaza and smiled coldly. Killing evil demons is currently the most important matter in the entire cultivation continent. Of course, we need to work together and make everyone contribute their share of the effort. Don't you think so, Marquis Chu and Lord Xiahou? Jing Tianyi's voice was so soft that only Xiahou Zun and Chu Xinyan, who were beside him, could hear him. Moreover, the meaning of his words was very vague. But the two of them understood immediately. At this moment, if the three of them want to kill Mayan, they might succeed. But this woman was too evil. When he was still at the leaving aperture stage, he was able to kill the great elder of cleansing Le Pavilion, who was at the fifth tribulation passing realm. If they were to fight her head-on, even if they could win, the three of them would suffer heavy injuries. In the end, it even benefited others, who picked up Mayan's treasures. There's one more thing that I'm afraid all of you are aware of. There are more than 8 people in the Xiaoyao sect. There's also young Master Yun Xiao, whom even we are afraid of. Hearing this, Xiahou Zun and Chu Xinyan's pupils shrank. The continent's #1 swordsman, Luo Yunxiao. No one knew exactly how strong he was. Back then, Xiao Yingli, who was at the nascent soul stage, challenged Luo Yunxiao and recorded it on a photographic talisman. It was broadcasted to the Tianguang ruins and caused a sensation. Chapter 30-39. In this match, Xiao Yingli lost without any suspense. It was a complete and utter defeat. But there was one thing that many people did not know. Xiao Yingli's father, Xiao Qingning, was a tribulation-passing expert. Moreover, he was ranked second on the Green Sky list, the famous, Absolute Swordsman. 5 years ago, Xiao Qingning had secretly challenged Luo Yunxiao to a duel for the title of the top swordsman in the cultivation land. Everyone thought that it would be an evenly matched battle. However, the final result was Xiao Qingning's crushing defeat. The dignified, absolute swordsman, second only to Leng Yaoshan in the cultivation land, was unable to recover from that setback and could not even pick up his sword. Later, he disappeared, and no one in the cultivation land had ever seen him again. And after Luo Yunxiao was crowned as the top swordsman and the most handsome man in the cultivation land, he kept a low profile as usual. As a result, very few people knew about this duel. Until 2 years ago, Xiao Yingli wanted to avenge his father and once again found Luo Yunxiao. Xiao Yingli was only a nascent soul cultivator. The title, Empty Cry Sword, was given casually by everyone out of respect for Xiao Qingning. After Xiao Qingning's disappearance, the Zhao family fell apart, and Xiao Yingli could not even stay in the Purple Cloud domain. How could such a person be a match for young Master Yunxiao? Xiao Yingli himself obviously thought so too. So before the duel, he thought of a sinister trick. He obtained a colorless and odorless poison from the 10,000 Poison Valley, and released it before the start of the duel. Xiao Yingli had the idea of perishing together with Luo Yunxiao. He even specially asked someone to use a photographic talisman to record Luo Yunxiao's ugly appearance when he died from the poison, so that he could avenge his father's tainted reputation. However, what shocked Xiao Yingli and those who knew about it? Even Xiao Yingli, who had taken the antidote beforehand, could only hold on for a quarter of an hour before collapsing in the poisonous fog. But Luo Yunxiao acted as if nothing had happened from beginning to end. He had even helped Xiao Yingli force out the poison in his body after he had defeated Xiao Yingli. Later, no one knew what Luo Yunxiao said to Xiao Yingli. He only knew that from then on, not only did Xiao Yingli not hate Luo Yunxiao, but he also worshipped her. But there was one thing that everyone was clear about. Young Master Yunxiao was very strong. He was so strong that he wasn't someone they could easily contend against. It was even possible that he was like young Master Suicide, Ning Su, and did not belong to the cultivation continent. Luo Yunxiao was not here. But what if he came back one day and found out that the three of them had slaughtered his fellow disciples? The consequences weren't something Cleansing Delight Pavilion, Duke Dingbei, or Imperial House Xiaohou were willing to bear. Jing Tianyi slowly said in a low voice, but what if everyone participates in this demon-slaying mission? No matter how powerful Mr. Yunxiao is, do you think he can kill everyone in the entire Purple Cloud world or even the entire Cultivation mainland? This was the main reason why he had to blame the Unfettered Seven for the crimes of the Unfettered Seven, no matter what. Jing Tianyi and the other two landed in front of the Demon Slaughter Palace. Mu Yan also took the opportunity to stop playing. In fact, activating Divine Hands Weaver and Star Curtain at the same time to resist the powerful attacks of three tribulation-passing cultivators was quite a burden on her. Jun Mu Yan, do you know your crimes? Jing Tianyi shouted as soon as he landed. His expression was cold and murderous. In a split second, he suppressed the whispers of ridicule and shock in the square. Chapter 30-40. I've long known that you people are cruel and ruthless. You've taken over other people's bodies to be reborn, slaughtered innocent people, controlled the corpse puppets to wreak havoc on the northern continent, and destroyed the soaring dragon sect's thousand-year foundation. All of these things that we cultivators of the righteous Tao despise, yet you people killed them all without any qualms. But I didn't expect that you would be so crazy as to kill your own master. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning for your actions? Jing Tianyi's words were filled with righteousness and righteousness. Beside him, Yeshua was holding a mirage stone and recording everything that happened in the demon-slaying square. Then, she selectively spread it to every corner of the cultivation continent through the Tianguang ruins. Mu Yan was still fine after hearing this. Beside her, Kong Yuanzhou, Zhou Daoyi, and Fatty Zheng were almost angered to death. The person who wanted to kill Shi Qing was Chu Xinyan, and they were the ones who destroyed the Dragon Soar Academy with their own hands. Now, they were twisting the truth and pushing it all onto the Unfettered Seven. How shameless were these people? It was you who used the lives of Shi Qing and the Starry School students to threaten him. Now, you're saying that God Jun betrayed his master? You've already said everything. Who's the shameless one? The thousands of Starry School students and teachers have never done anything evil, yet they were captured and abused by you for no reason. I think you're the ones who should be struck by lightning. Jing Tianyi snickered, indicating that he was prepared to deal with this accusation. Unhurriedly, he said, the demon-slaying alliance didn't want to use hostages to threaten you. But you Unfettered Seven demons are too cunning. You bewitched everyone from Starry School and the Dragon Soar Academy and controlled them to become your puppets. If we don't get rid of these demons, the ones who will suffer in the end are the ordinary cultivators and citizens. Even if we have to resort to extreme measures, we have a clear conscience. Jun Mu Yan, you want to incite your subordinates to tarnish the demon-slaying alliance's reputation. Save it. Mu Yan stopped Xing Xiaopeng, who was about to curse out loud. She says in a leisurely manner, Alliance Master Jing, I understand that you three were quite embarrassed when you couldn't break through the chaotic tower just now. So, you urgently need to say some ruthless words to regain some face. But can't you change your repetitive words a little? You don't get tired of talking too much, but my ears are getting calluses from listening to you too much. Or could it be that Alliance Master Jing really thinks that after telling a lie 100 times, what you have in your hands is the truth? Jing Tianyi's expression was gloomy, but he did not get angry. Instead, he laughed coldly. Jun Mayan, whether what I said is a lie or not, it would be better to let the victims who have been harmed by you Xiaoyao's 7 devils prove it themselves. Jing Tianyi waved his hand. From the demon-slaying hall, a large wave of men and women of different cultivation bases immediately surged out. Mayan doesn't recognize most of these people. However, there were also some who looked familiar. At this moment, almost all of them were looking at her with hatred and fear. Mu Yan's heart thumps. He quickly guessed what Jing Tianyi wanted to do. Tell me, how were you harmed by the Xiaoyao 7 devils? Jing Tianyi's words caused these people to look at each other in dismay. They wanted to say something, but stopped. From time to time, they would look at Mayan with frightened eyes. Jing Tianyi chuckled, "You don't have to be afraid. The purpose of today's demon-slaying conference is to kill the 7 devils of the Xiaoyao school and return peace to the cultivation continent. You can speak out loudly if you have any grievances or hatred." Chapter 30-41. Everyone here is a respected patriarch of the Purple Cloud realm. They will definitely seek justice for you. Most of the people called out by Jing Tianyi didn't have high cultivation. Some were only at the qi condensation stage. Facing Jun Mayan, who was already at the tribulation stage, they were instinctively afraid even if she didn't release any pressure. But Jing Tianyi's words gave them a glimmer of hope. Because they discovered that everyone sitting in the plaza was famous. They could only dream of such great figures in the past. With them here, what could a mere Jun Mayan amount to? Thus, someone boldly spoke up. With the first, there was a second, a third, and each one was more impassioned and indignant than the last. I am Ning Hai, the housekeeper of Ning Mansion in Minlujia. Back then, our Ning family had no enmity or grievances with that demoness, Jun Mayan. But she first killed our young master, then later killed master, and even burned our Ning mansion to the ground. It's a pity that our Ning family was originally the #1 family in the Minlu realm, but who would have thought that we would end up like this? Jun Mayan, do you still recognize me? I am Qian Feng, an elder of the Li Fire sect. That day at the Blue Cloud Realm sect selection, you poisoned my nephew. I still remember that. My Tian family was originally one of the 5 great families of the Azure Blue Realm, but because we offended these 7 little demons, our entire family was massacred. But these beasts still refused to stop, and actually painted the naked bodies of our Tian family on paper, making us the laughingstock of the entire Azure Blue Realm. Jun Mayan, this enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. Today, I will represent the Tian family to seek justice. Jun Mayan stole our Flowing Moon sect's top secret pill formula, and even publicized it in the Heaven Light ruins, making our Flowing Moon sect unable to stay in the Purple Cloud realm. Boo-hoo! In the Tri-Academy tournament, I only said a few unpleasant words to them, but I was wantonly humiliated by the unfettered 7 demons. It wasn't easy for us to enter the Woodfern Mystic realm, and we almost died, but in the end, we gained nothing. It's all because of that insatiable demonist Jun Mayan. She took away the treasures that should have belonged to us, such a demon. He deserves to die. If I don't kill Jun Mayan, if I don't kill the unfettered 7 devils, it will be hard to dispel the hatred in my heart. The words of these people were all sincere. Some of the people on the Demon Massacre Plaza didn't believe it, but most of them did. Especially those families and sects that were originally neutral. At this moment, their eyes were filled with disgust and fear as they looked at Mayan. Jing Tianyi lowered his eyes and smiled proudly. Jun Mayan, this is just the beginning. I'd like to see how long you can last. He raised his hand, signaling for them to quiet down. He then turned around and faced the Mirage Stone in Yoshua's hand. If someone was on the Rebirth Square of Tianguang ruins, they would discover that on the tall tower in the center of the square, there were many people standing on it. From the very beginning, it had been playing everything that had been released at the foot of Mount Feng. At that moment, Jing Tianyi's righteous and awe-inspiring face appeared in front of everyone in the Reincarnation Plaza. Through the Tianguang ruins, they were sent to every main city of the Shuzhen continent. Jing Tianyi coughed lightly, then said in a clear voice, I've transmitted everything that happened in the Demon Massacre gathering to every corner of the Shuzhen continent through the Tianguang ruins, hoping to inform everyone. Chapter 3042. Slaying demons and devils isn't just the responsibility of our demon-slaying alliance. It's the responsibility of everyone in the world. Here, I appeal to all those who have been persecuted by the unfettered seven devils, or those who have the ambition to kill the evil devils, to gather at the foot of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range. Be it the Min-Lu realm, the Azure Cloud realm, the Azure Blue realm, or the Purple Cloud realm, you can all vent your hatred and grievances at our devil-slaying conference. I, Jing Tianyi, promise everyone here that I will not allow these evil demons to harm the world. Even if your cultivation is low and you have no background, you do not need to worry about the revenge of the unfettered seven devils. Because my Demon Extermination Alliance will definitely ensure your safety. Furthermore, after this matter is over and the cultivation continent has regained its peace, all the brave warriors who participated in the slaughter of the demons today will be rewarded. After saying that, Jing Tianyi raised his hand and gestured. Immediately, Cleansing Joy Pavilion's deacons brought array discs to various parts of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range. As the array disc and the crystal were buried, a ray of light flashed in all directions of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range. Everyone quickly recognized what it was. Teleportation array. As everyone knows, although there are already many flying magic treasures in the cultivation continent. However, the continent was incomparably vast. It would take at least 3 to 5 days of flying to reach the foot of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range from Min-Lu, Azure Cloud, and Kanglan. However, things would be different if there was a teleportation array. As long as there were enough crystals, almost all the people on the cultivation continent could be gathered here through the teleportation array. Many of the cultivators present could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. That was over 100 teleportation arrays. He didn't expect that Mula Pavilion was willing to pay such a high price to kill the unfettered seven devils. Everyone's gaze is turned towards the young girl in front of the chaotic tower. Her complexion was as beautiful as snow, peerless and indifferent. Her expression was indifferent, as if she had no reaction to what was happening in front of her. But a thought flashed through everyone's mind: Jun Mayan is finished. The unfettered seven devils were finished. Gossip is a fearful thing, and it can destroy one's bones. Regardless of whether the unfettered seven devils were truly evil or not, after today, they would all become sinners condemned by everyone. There was no room for a comeback. The students of Soaring Dragon and Stellar Union obviously understood this better than Mu Yen. Therefore, all of their faces were deathly pale, and they were filled with hatred and despair. They wanted to refute loudly, but no one was willing to listen to them. Jing Tianyi was obviously satisfied with the change in everyone's expressions. He pointed at the teleportation formations that had been set up in the mountains and continued, "These 108 teleportation formations are connected to the main districts of Min LV, Qing Yun, Zhanglan, and Purple Yun. As long as you're interested, you can use these teleportation formations to watch this devil-slaying feast and personally witness the tragic end of the unfettered seven devils." It was as if they were responding to his words. The teleportation arrays lit up one after another. Cultivators of different cultivation bases and dressed in different attires came out one after another. They were just here to join in the fun. Some of them had heard Jing Tianyi's promise and wanted a share of the spoils. Some of them have already been brainwashed. From the bottom of their hearts, they think that Mu Yen and the others are evil devils who bring disaster to the cultivation world. They hope to see them turn into ashes with their own eyes. But there were also people who had witnessed the brilliance of the Xiaoyao Seven at the Deer Cry banquet, and also admired Yi Liang Chen's invincibility when he slaughtered the list. They did not believe that such a dazzling genius could really be the evil demon that everyone cursed. Chapter 3043. Jing Tian sees that more and more people are coming, and he lets out a low snort. The general trend is now in his hands. No matter how many tricks June Mayan has up her sleeves, besieged on all sides, she will have nowhere to go, and it will be difficult for her to escape. What's more, his meticulous plan hasn't been completely revealed yet. Swish! A sword light suddenly shines in the square. Following that, 2, 3, 4, under everyone's astonishment, they see dozens of figures suddenly fly out from one of the transmission arrays. The sword light whistles, heading straight for June Mayan in front of the chaotic tower. June Mayan, you killed my master, destroyed my Heaven Jian sect century-old foundation, I'll fight it out with you, you devil. Heaven Jian sect was the sect that competed with Mayan for the mysterious ghost wood and scarlet flame gold in the Woodfern secret territory. In the end, the Heaven Jian sect, which had gathered almost all of its elites, was utterly defeated by Mayan in the secret territory. Even the sect's ancestor Guing Long, the only peak-leaving body expert, died in Di Mingju's hands. Since then, Heaven Jian sect has fallen from a second-rate sect to a third-rate sect, no longer having a foothold in Xiyunjia. The hatred these Heaven Jian sect disciples have for June Mayan can be imagined. Unfortunately, even if their ancestor Guing Long comes back to life, Mayan won't put him in her eyes at all. Let alone a few nascent soul stage disciples. The zither sounds leisurely, and these people feel a gust of wind blowing on their faces. The swords in their hands tremble twice, and fly out of their hands. The few of them let out a blood-curdling screech and directly fell to the ground, their faces flat on the face. If one were to say how tragic and heroic they were when they first came out of the transmission array, how embarrassing and funny they are now. There are even some cultivators who can't help but laugh out loud. The Heaven Jian sect disciples are ashamed and angry, glaring at June Mayan. The girl in snow-white clothes has already stopped plucking the strings. Her mocking gaze falls on them, and she shakes her head. What? Hasn't your Heaven Jian sect disbanded yet? June Mayan, don't go too far. Mayan has a smile that isn't a smile. When did I go too far? Oh, are you talking about how your Heaven Reflection sect couldn't compete with me in the Woodfern secret realm, so you shamelessly tried to bully me with your numbers, only to be killed by me in the end? The disciples of the Heaven Jian sect were speechless. Because June Mayan's words, in just a few words, were extremely accurate. But how could they admit to such a fact? For a moment, their faces alternated between green and white, but they couldn't say a single word. June Mayan. The disciples of Heaven Jian sect were put on the spot. Suddenly, an angry shout came from the crowd. Even if you and the Tian Jian sect are competing for the treasure, what about my daughter? How did my daughter offend you? Why do you want to harm her like this? Mu Yan raises an eyebrow. Who are you? The speaker was a middle-aged man in his 40s. His face was filled with righteous indignation, and his eyes were filled with tears, as if he had suffered a great injury. At this time, he didn't answer Mu Yan's question. Instead, he cupped his hands towards the surrounding cultivators, and loudly said, "This one is Su Shiqing, and my daughter is called Su Lui. She was originally the most promising genius of Dragon Ascension Academy. But who would have thought that this demoness, June Mayan, would be jealous of my daughter's beauty in the Woodfern secret realm? She actually gave her a bone-eroding pill, turning her into something neither human nor ghost. Do you know how torturous and hateful it is for me to watch my daughter suffer like this every day?" Chapter 30-44. As they spoke, someone brought a stretcher up. Lying on it was a skinny woman with sunken eyes and blue veins all over her body. Rather than a person, it would be better to say that she was an ugly malicious spirit. At this time, the woman was struggling to jump up from the stretcher, pointing at Mayan and shouting, "June Mayan, it's all your fault, give me back my face. Give me back my beauty. I'm going to kill you. Kill you." Longting Heavenly Academy's Su Luoi's beauty was also famous in the Ziyun realm. Compared to her current ugly appearance that was like a ghost, many people in the square were shaken to the core. This is really June Mayan's doing. Torturing an innocent woman to this state, isn't June Mayan going too far? Why else would she call them demons? Only demons would use such cruel and despicable methods. Su Shiqing went to Su Luoi's stretcher and knelt down, crying and kowtowing. I, Su Shiqing, know that my cultivation is low and I don't have the ability to seek justice from this demoness. I ask the seniors of the Demon-Slaying Alliance to lend me a hand. If we can kill the demons and avenge my daughter, Su Shiqing, am willing to work like a horse for the rest of my life. Jing Tianyi promptly stepped forward and helped him up. Fellow Daoist Su is too serious. Slaying demons and eliminating demons is what we righteous cultivators should do. We don't deserve such courtesy. Everyone. Jing Tianyi pushed Su Shiqing away and suddenly raised the sword in his hand, pointing it at the sky. You've all seen the crimes of the unfettered 7 demons with your own eyes. As long as they are allowed to live, more innocent cultivators will suffer. Can we allow them to continue to be presumptuous? No. The square shouted in unison, shaking the world. Good. I, Jing Tianyi, thank you for your righteousness. Everyone, please listen to my command. All leaving body stage cultivators and above, attack with me. All leaving body stage cultivators attack the chaotic tower. All crossing tribulation cultivators attack June Mayan together with me. Today, we will let these demons spill their blood on the spot and turn them into ashes. Blood splattered on the spot, and ashes scattered in the wind. The cultivators who were sitting on the carved chairs stood up one by one. They excitedly shouted their slogans. Pairs of wolf-like and tiger-like eyes stared at the lone girl in front of the chaotic tower. Whether it was because of benefits or the superiority of righteous cultivators. They also wanted to kill this demonic woman so that she would never be able to act so arrogantly again. However, there were also some people who remained seated and did not move. Lord Lan, Lord Su, Lord Murong, what is the meaning of this? Don't tell me you really want to protect these 7 demons. Chu Xinyan asked coldly. Lan Etian frowned and said, this matter has not been thoroughly investigated. These accusations are only their one-sided words. They cannot prove that the 7 carefree sons are demons. Ha ha ha. Chu Xinyan laughed loudly. Even at this point in time, King Lan is still able to say such ridiculous words. Who on the continent doesn't know about the actions of the unfettered 7 devils? You said that they are only one-sided, but if one person says so, it might be a lie. But if so many people accuse him at the same time, is it also a lie? The people who had just accused Mayan immediately pointed to the heavens and shouted loudly. We guarantee that every word we said is the truth. If there is any falsehood, we may be struck by lightning. Chapter 30-45. Did you hear that? Chu Xinyan looked at Lan Etian mockingly. You don't believe the testimonies of so many innocent victims, but you believe the words of a few demons. I can't help but suspect that the entire Lan royal family is in cahoots with the unfettered 7 demons. Could it be that even the Lan royal family has been bewitched and corrupted by the unfettered 7 demons like Dragon Ascension Academy? Lan Etian shouted angrily, Chu Xinyan, how dare you slander us? Chu Xinyan laughed loudly. What? Are you angry now that this marquis has seen through you? Lan Etian was about to say something when he heard a clear voice that was like the sound of nature. Chu Xinyan, it's fine if others call me a demon. You are an old monster who created the Blood Abyss Vine and the Heavenly Flood Dragon. You have survived until now by absorbing the essence of your own children. What qualifications do you have to talk nonsense here? Chu Xinyan's face stiffened. A trace of panic flashed in his eyes as he said sternly, Jun Mayan, stop slandering me. Do you think that you can live a little longer by creating rumors and sowing discord? Jing Tianyi, what are you waiting for? Quickly give the order to kill this demoness. Jing Tianyi snorted coldly and thought to himself, you have no right to order this alliance, master. But he knew very well what the most important thing was right now. Moreover, Chu Xinyan's background was indeed not clean. If this little girl really exposed him, then it would be difficult for him to use his subsequent methods. Thus, Jing Tianyi looked coldly at Lan Yitian, Su Mingyue, and Murong Yan. He said sternly, the unfettered 7 demons are heinous demons. There is no doubt about that. You still don't want to make a move. Are you determined to protect the demons and become enemies with all the righteous cultivators in the world? The unfettered 7 demons have saved our Murong family. Murong Yan, who had been silent all this while, said hoarsely, I know their character. They are definitely not evil demons. Shouldn't we investigate this matter thoroughly before making a decision? The ancestor of the Murong family had left to travel many years ago, and since then, there was no trace of him. Murong Yan was only at the peak of leaving body realm. In front of a group of tribulation-passing experts, he had no right to speak. They did not dare to fight against the demon-slaying alliance like Lan Yitian and Su Mingyue. But at this moment, he was unable to remain silent any longer. If it weren't for the unfettered 7 sons, Murong Shui might have already been tortured to death by the Shui family. Without Jun Mayan, how could the Murong family get rid of the blood fiend that had troubled them for so many years? With such kindness in front of them, if their Murong family still made a move against Jun Mayan, then what difference would there be between them and cruel and unscrupulous animals? Investigate. What else is there to investigate? Shui Zhaoguang's sinister gaze swept over every single member of the Murong family. He sneered, Alliance head Jing, I think that Murong Yan has ulterior motives. He wholeheartedly wants to buy time for those 7 little demons. They must have been bewitched by Jun Mayan long ago and joined the Xiaoyao sect. Since we're slaying demons, we naturally have to eliminate them completely, including their claws and teeth. I don't think this Murong family can be left alive. Let's kill them all today. Murong Yan's expression changed drastically. He exclaimed in horror, Shui Zhaoguang, you, what about me? Shui Zhaoguang sneered, who here doesn't know whether Jun Mayan is an evil demon or not? Yet, you insist on being unreasonable and confusing the public. If you're not trying to protect this group of evil demons, then what are you? If you're not convinced, why don't you ask loudly right now? Are the unfettered 7 sons evil demons? Chapter 3046. Yes. The uniform shouts made Shui Zhaoguang very satisfied. That devil Jun Mayan, should we kill her immediately? She deserves to die. No. She deserves to die. Kill. Suddenly, a hoarse roar overshadowed the shouts of the people in the square. Shui Zhaoguang didn't expect that someone would tear down his stage at this time. He suddenly turned his head to look. He saw that the more than 100 transmission arrays had all lit up. One by one, cultivators came out from them. There were men and women, old and young, low and high cultivations. Moreover, it could be determined from the different transmission arrays they appeared in. Each of them came from different towns, sects and even domains. But the amazing thing was that they were wearing the same clothes. White with blue edges, valiant and formidable. On each of their chests were the words, glamorous, outlined in scarlet runes. As they walked and the spiritual power in their bodies gushed out, the 2 words, glamorous, shone brightly, as if it could dazzle people's eyes. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, This group of people had already gathered in the demon-slaying square at an extremely fast speed, standing by Mayan's side. The youth in the lead held a folding fan in his hand. When he saw Mayan, his eyebrows immediately curved, revealing a look of infatuation and excitement. But the voice that came out of his mouth was low and steady, as if it had been brewing for countless days and nights. "Great God June, I've made you wait for a long time." Glamorous fallen army, reporting. Mayan looked at the people in front of her in a daze, her eyes sweeping from one face to another. Some were familiar, some were unfamiliar. Some had fought side by side with her, and some had only met once. She found her voice after a long time. "What are you doing here? Do you still need to ask?" "Of course, to support you, great God." "Who dares to say that great God June is a devil? Suda will be the first to refuse. If we can't stand up for our idol when she is bullied, what kind of loyal supporters are we?" Xiao Yunchuan. Xue Xiaoguang roared, "Are you tired of living? You dare to openly support this devil woman?" Xiao Yunchuan waved his folding fan and said indifferently, "I say, is there something wrong with your brains?" Mei Yan, cough, how could the great god June be a demon? Have you ever seen such a beautiful demon in the world? These words made the surrounding onlookers burst into laughter. After laughing, he felt that those words made sense. As the saying goes, one's appearance comes from one's heart. Under the sunlight, a young girl played the zither alone. Her clothes were whiter than snow. Her features were picturesque, and her appearance could topple cities. When he sat there quietly, he was like an antique and everlasting painting. Just a glance at him would cause one to be intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. How could such a young girl be a demon? For a time, the murderous atmosphere that was originally at daggers drawn quietly changed. Jing Tianyi had never expected that such a large group of people would suddenly appear, even though he had been in perfect control of the Devil Slaughter Conference. He glanced at the Mirage Light Stone with a gloomy expression, before he spoke up in a cold voice, "Xiao Yunchuan, you openly associate yourself with the devils, haven't you ever thought about the fate of your own sect and clan?" The Xiao family was only a second or third-rate family in the Ziyun realm. They didn't have the right to be invited to the devil-slaying conference. "Paw!" Xiao Yunchuan put away the folding fan in his hand, and the smile on his face disappeared. Chapter 3047. Xiao Yunchuan says coldly, "Uncle, you don't have to worry about this. I, Xiao Yunchuan, have already severed my relationship with the Xiao family this morning. From now on, I, Xiao Yunchuan, will be responsible for everything I do. It has nothing to do with the Xiao family. I, Chinda, have also severed my relationship with the Green Tooth sect. I will be responsible for my own actions, it has nothing to do with my family." For a moment, everyone is stunned. Even Mayan looks at the men and women surrounding her in disbelief. When she was besieged by 3 experts at the peak of crossing Calamity stage, she wasn't afraid at all. She didn't even raise her eyebrows when she was condemned by thousands of people and splashed with dirty water. But at this moment, because of these people in front of her, who she either met by chance or didn't know, her chest is surging with raging waves. However, no one thought that this was just the beginning. Jing Tianyi shouts, "You think that by pretending to sever ties, you can let your family," before he can finish, hundreds of transportation arrays light up again. This time, there were even more people coming out of the cave than before. It's similar to the devastating city army. They also come from different towns, have different cultivations, men and women, and wear the same clothes. The only difference is the 2 words embroidered on their chests are not devastating city, but Liangqin. At this moment, a name flashes through everyone's mind, Liangqin Army. The cultivators sitting on both sides can no longer hold back and shout, "How is this possible? The devastating city army is here, they are here to support Mayan. Everyone can understand. After all, Mayan has that kind of beauty that can put the moon to shame, and this is a real contact. It's not impossible for these, Liangchen army, to be bewitched and lured. But what about the Liangchen army? They're just a motley crew gathered in Tianguang ruins. These people haven't even seen Mayan's real face, they don't even know her real identity. What are they doing here? Could it be that they are also risking their lives to support Mayan? How is this possible? The impressive group of people from the Liangchen army doesn't care about what the cultivators in the demon-slaying square are thinking. Without waiting for the crowd to react, they all rushed to the Devil Massacre Plaza. Seeing the devastatingly beautiful army that was already standing beside Mu Yan, someone immediately beat his chest and stamped his feet. Easy bro, it's all your fault for dilly-dallying, causing us to be snatched away by the devastating city-destroying army. What's the use of being first? We outnumber them, and our quality is better than theirs. The title of Great God Ye's #1 supporter belongs to none other than my Liangchen army. Amidst the clamor, the majestic crowd has already stood on Mu Yan's right side. Elegant Bro, North Sunflower, Xiang Wan, Sister Hua, and Old Ma stood in a row and bowed to Mu Yan. Liangchen Dajuan, reporting for duty. Sorry to keep you waiting, Almighty Yi. The voices of the four of them were hoarse and trembling with excitement. They had always known how outstanding the person they admired was. However, no one had expected that Yap Liangchen was actually Jun Mayan, their idol. He was much more outstanding and powerful than they had imagined. In this life, to be able to follow this person, to have the opportunity to protect this person, even if they were to die in this demon-slaying square, they would have no regrets. Mu Yan opened her mouth, wanting to scold them a few times. Why did they come? Why did they risk their lives for a person they haven't even seen, disregarding everything? Chapter 30-48. But when she saw the blazing light in their eyes, all the voices turned into a stream of heat, rolling into the bottom of her heart, churning and imprinting. Whether it was Jun Mayan or Yap Liangchen, everything she had done was just following her heart and doing it in passing. Perhaps she had helped someone, perhaps she had protected someone, or perhaps she had become someone's hope. But those were nothing more than small favors, and she had long since thrown them to the back of her mind. However, the things that she had forgotten, these people remembered them one by one, and guarded them carefully. Until today, when their wings had fully grown, the position of protector and protected exchanged. It was like a seed that she had unintentionally sown, and when she wasn't paying attention, it had already blossomed and borne fruit, and the trees had grown into shade. This time, it was their turn to stand in front of her, to shield her from the wind and rain, to overcome all difficulties. This time, it was their turn to guard her, so that she would no longer be bullied by anyone. Mayan suddenly lowered her eyes, covering the damp heat that was about to gush out. She took a deep breath, and after a long time, she raised her head and swept her gaze over everyone present. Her eyes were sparkling, as if there were thousands of things she wanted to say, but in the end, she could only say 2 words. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to stand by my side unwaveringly when I was being condemned by thousands of people. Thank you for being willing to believe in a stranger like me without reservation. Thank you for protecting me, supporting me, and unwavering from the beginning until now. What's there to thank? We are your #1 legion. If someone bullied you, how could we, the Yap Liangchen army, not come? Hey. Even if you have a big face, there should be a limit, okay? The #1 Legion of God Jun is naturally our devastating troops. At best, what you're supporting is just a sock puppet of God Jun, and even the name isn't real. Are you not ashamed to compare yourself to us? Bah! I know that you devastating troops are shameless, but I didn't expect you to be this shameless. When God Yi slaughtered Tianguang ruins and dominated the 6 Stars Pagoda, who knows where you were playing with mud? The Lord of 6 Stars is a fart. One person slaughtering a city, only June Mayan knows. Haha, in the heavens and on the earth, in the 3 realms and 6 realms, the one and only descendant of the Medicine King. Under Yap Liang Qin, there is no king. Once a luring city appears, who dares to challenge her? Within the chaotic tower, the people who had just been moved by the sudden arrival of the devastating city army, and the good day army. At this moment, all of their faces were filled with black lines, and they were just short of rushing out to bash these people's heads. What the hell was wrong with him? Back then, when they didn't know he was alone, it was fine if they argued. Now that he knew he was alone, he was still arguing. Moreover, why don't they look at the occasion? Was it a situation that they could coax? However, what caused everyone to collapse was that it was one thing for the beautiful city army and Liangqin army to quarrel. Even in the chaotic tower, there were supporters of Jun Mayan and Yi Liangqin fighting against each other. In the end, they simply ran out of the chaotic tower and joined their respective teams. And then, they continued bickering. Mu Yan, alright, even she wanted to facepalm. However, this farce was not over yet. This was because the 3rd wave of people had come out of the teleportation array. These people did not wear the same uniform, nor did they have any embroidered symbols. But as soon as they stepped out of the teleportation formation, they started shouting at the top of their lungs. Chapter 3049. Carefree, carefree, who else but me? Carefree, carefree, dominating the world. One sword mountain Si Yun Ruhan, one sword to conquer the 9 provinces, one sword to swallow the mountains and seas. Shaking Mount Tai, Qinzhou, the strongest defense, the strongest fist, the most reliable almighty Qin. Silverbow godly arrow, Chu Moli, the #1 long-range attacker, even a wheelchair can't stop you. Raging flame blade, Leng Yumo, the red lotus seizes the soul, the raging flame devours the soul, who said that women are inferior to men. Gailing Huo Ling Yuxing, the wind that no one can catch up to, the fire that no space can obstruct. Thousand Hands godly summoner Lon Luoyu, the Baifeng on the left, the puppet on the right, the strongest summoner in the cultivation continent, who else but you? Azure blue purple cloud, a brilliant feat. Woodfern dominates, Fusang massacres the city. Beautiful city, who dares to challenge? The 7 carefree men, not one less. The 7 carefree men advance with indomitable will. This group's movements were even more chaotic than Liang Chen's army and Beautiful City's army, and their numbers were far less than those 2. But their voices were each louder than the last, and the slogans they shouted were surprisingly uniform. As they shouted, they walked to Mu Yan's side. Then, they forcibly squeezed out a space from Liang Chen's army and Beautiful City's army. The 7 carefree men are the strongest when they combine, and Almighty June is the happiest and most invincible in the carefree sect. So, all of you, get out of the way, our carefree army is the #1 army. Damn, who are you? Your face is bigger than the Beautiful City's army. You get out of the way. Get out of the way. Mu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry as she looked at the 3 groups of people arguing in front of her. At this moment, Jing Tianyi shouted angrily, "Are you guys done?" Jing Tianyi was so angry that his whole body was shaking. He had plotted for so many days, meticulously plotted and arranged everything, and finally pushed the atmosphere to the most appropriate climax. Who knew that in the end, all his efforts would be ruined by this motley crew? How could Jing Tianyi not be angry? If it weren't for the fact that everyone was watching, and if it weren't for the mirage stone that was connected to the Tianguang ruins, he would have killed every single one of these idiots. Jing Tianyi took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart with great difficulty. Xue Zhaoguang and Su Qianquan understood what he meant and immediately incited their disciples to shout. What's wrong with these people? Why are they so supportive of a group of demons? I think they have been bewitched. I've already said that Jun Mayan, that witch, has the ability to charm people's hearts. Now it seems that it really is so. Seducing so many men at the same time, isn't it all because of her face? How disgusting. The noisy voices suddenly stopped. They were clearly a chaotic and undisciplined group of people, and they were clearly arguing with each other just now. However, when they heard someone humiliate their idol, these people didn't need anyone's orders. They instantly stopped quarreling and united against the enemy. A few people from the three armies slowly walked forward. These people were the leaders of the Beautiful City's army, Liang Chen's army, and the Carefree army. It was only now that Mu Yan realized that the leader of the Carefree army was actually Murong Xue. And standing beside Murong Xue were the former members of the Kirin squad, Duan Wenbin, Jin Zhonghao, Chu Yuanlei, and Zhu Chongliang. Chapter 30-50. Naturally, the cultivators present also quickly recognized him. Wenbin, why are you here? Liang, what are you doing? Come to Grandpa's side. The elders of the Qilin team obviously didn't know about this. At this time, they all cried out in alarm. Even Murong Yen stood up in shock, looking in disbelief at his daughter, who walked at the very front. He hadn't seen Murong Xue in the past few days. He thought she was in seclusion. But who knew, she actually, Jing Tianyi had also noticed this. He glanced at them fiercely and said coldly, Murong family master, Duan family master, Chu family master, what do you mean? Have you made up your mind to help the evildoer? The faces of the patriarchs of the great clans kept changing, and they were momentarily speechless. Murong Xue's expression was extremely calm. She stepped forward and said loudly, don't ask. I, Murong Xue, have cut ties with the Murong family a long time ago. What I do has nothing to do with the Murong family. It's my own choice. I, Duan Wenbin, also cut ties with the Duan family. I, Chu Yuanlei, quit the Dragon Tiger sect. Sentence after sentence of severing all ties made everyone present a little dumbfounded. Xiao Yunchuan and the others could have just said that they were cutting ties with their families and sections. The Murong family, the Duan family, the Dragon Tiger sect, the Jin family. They were all first-rate families in the Ziyun realm. Duan Wenbin and the others had become members of the Qilin team and were once the 6-star champion. Their talent and strength were naturally second to none. Their status in their families must be very high as well. But today, they were saying that they were cutting ties with their families and sects in front of everyone. Are you crazy? Did that demoness bewitch you? Why do you want to be with the evil spirits? Murong Xue sneered. What is good and what is evil? You guys look sanctimonious on the surface, but secretly do all kinds of shady things. Is that good? I'm sorry, but I don't want to be a member of such a prestigious sect. How dare you? You're just a little girl. How dare you be rude to us elders? As expected, one would be bewitched after being in contact with those demons for too long. Look, they've all lost their minds. Xue Zhaoguang glared at Murong Xue as if his gaze had been dipped in poison. Back then, it was you who killed my grandson with the unfettered 7 demons, you vicious woman. Now, you actually dare to openly support the unfettered 7 demons. I think that the Murong family itself is a nest of demons. You should be killed. As he spoke, he raised his hand to chop Murong Xue to death. However, the intermittent sound of a zither traveled into his ears. The sound of the zither did not have any offensive properties. However, Shui Xiaoguang's expression changed abruptly as he recalled the pain in his internal organs. Shui Xiaoguang was shocked and frightened. In the end, he could only clench his teeth and retreat. However, he could not help but look at the white-clothed girl sitting in front of the chaotic tower. Jun Mian, she seems a little strange. He sat in front of the chaotic tower, neither moving nor retaliating. Only when his subordinates were attacked would he use his zither music to protect them. This kind of behavior was completely inconsistent with this woman's vengeful personality. Was it because he was not strong enough? Or was he plotting something? A trace of doubt arose in Shui Xiaoguang's heart, but he could not figure it out. In the end, he reluctantly suppressed it. Jing Tianyi's gaze swept over the members of the Qilin team as he said coldly. Chapter 3051. Have you really thought it through? For the sake of a few demons that you met by chance, you want to become enemies with all the righteous cultivators in the world. You want to drag your clans and sects into an unjust situation. Do you really think it's worth it? Duan Wenbin laughed coldly. We've known the unfettered Seven Sons since the Deer Cry banquet. We know their character and conduct very well, and we sincerely regard them as friends. How is it not worth it to sacrifice one's life for one's friends? Duan Wenbin paused and turned to look at the teachers and students of Longting in front of the chaotic tower. Seeing that they were alive and well, his eyes bloomed with joy and relief. When he turned back to look at Jing Tianyi, his eyes flickered with even more determination. I, Duan Wenbin, have been studying in Longting since I was young. All these years, I've been carefully taught and nurtured by teacher Longting to have today's achievements. But you sanctimonious hypocrites, in order to obtain the chaotic tower, you actually slaughtered so many teachers and students of Longting, destroying the foundation of Longting for 1,000 years. Today, everyone in the Qilin team has gathered here to seek justice for Longting. Even if we die here, it's worth it. Zhu Chongliang also said in a clear voice, a teacher for a day, a father for life. You killed my instructor Longting and destroyed the place where I studied. If we can't stand up and seek justice for the academy, what right do we have to be students? Chu Yuanlei's voice rumbled, but it was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Whoever makes an enemy of Longting is the enemy of the Qilin team. If you want to kill another person of Longting, then you'll have to step over the corpses of the Qilin team. This sonorous and forceful answer stunned Kong Yuanzhou, Zhou Daoyi, and the others. Now that the academy was in trouble, the students with powerful families and backgrounds had already fled before the battle had even begun. They had originally thought that they had been abandoned by those students. But it turned out that it was not like that. These students had never forgotten that they were a member of Longting. In order to seek justice for Longting, these students were even willing to sever ties with their huge families. They said, a teacher for a day is a father for life. They said, if you want to kill another person of Longting, you'll have to step over the corpses of the Qilin team. Zhou Daoyi forced himself to hold back, but he still couldn't stop the tears from streaming down his face. He pressed on Duan Wenbin's shoulder and said, good boy. In the end, he was choked with sobs and was unable to continue speaking. Inside and outside the chaotic tower, many of the Soaring Dragon Academy's teachers and students began to cry. He was touched, but he was also venting the grievances and fear that he had suffered during this period of time. Their academy had been destroyed. They were banished from the familiar divine elephant city. They could only watch helplessly as their mentors and classmates died in front of their eyes, yet they were powerless to do anything. For the past few days, they had always thought that Longting was finished, and so were they. But that was not the case. Draco was never finished. Their school buildings could be destroyed, their teachers and students could lose their lives. However, as long as these people were still alive, they would not be able to escape. Longteng would never disappear. No matter who is in power, as long as the soul of the soaring dragon exists, the academy will be passed down from generation to generation. This is the original intention of the emperor when he established the Soaring Dragon Academy. In Sun Yuanzhou's mind, he suddenly recalled what the Six Stars Pagoda's artifact spirit had said to him 100 years ago when the power of the Soaring Dragon Academy had overlapped. At that time, he was at a loss and did not understand, but now it was as if he had been enlightened. His eyes reddened, and he could not help but reveal a relieved smile. Chapter 3052. Marquis Chu, this Su, is also very confused about this matter. At this moment, Su Mingyue stood up and looked coldly at Chu Xinyan, saying, "Everyone knows the contributions that Dragon Soar Academy has made to the entire Purple Cloud domain. Just because of the accusation of colluding with demons, Marquis Chu wants to exterminate the tens of thousands of teachers and students in the academy. Isn't this a little too much? Since you say that it's the Demon Extermination Alliance and that what you're doing is righteous, shouldn't Marquis Chu give an explanation?" This question immediately caused everyone's gazes to focus on Chu Xinyan. In fact, most people didn't believe that Longting had colluded with evil demons. However, due to the Demon-Slaying Alliance's strength, they didn't dare to say anything. But at this moment, the Kirin team's desperate resistance and Su Mingyue's questioning reignited the doubts in their hearts. Chu Xinyan fiercely glared at the Qilin team, coldly saying, "The Dragon Soaring Academy has always been entangled with the unfettered seven demons. Now, they have directly pledged their allegiance to Jun Mayan. Becoming this female devil's lackey is the best proof. What's wrong with me killing them?" This was clearly inverting black and white, a thief crying thief. If it wasn't for Ding Bei Ho's army slaughtering Longting first, how could they have been saved by Jun Mayan? How could they, the members of Soaring Dragon and the Qilin team, wanted to refute? However, a folding fan appeared out of nowhere and blocked them. Xiao Yunchuan waved his hand and said in a carefree manner, "It's up to us, the Fallen City Army, to quarrel and tear each other apart. You newbies better stay away." Xiao Yunchuan gently waved the folding fan in front of his chest and said with a smile, "So, now the problem is back to square one, right? What makes you think that Jun Mo Xia and her fellow disciples are demons?" "Ha, that goes without saying. Who here doesn't know? Oh, I remember now." Xiao Yunchuan slapped the folding fan in his hand and interrupted Xue Zhaoguang's words. "Just now in the Tianguang ruins, I seem to have heard someone say that the unfettered seven were judged by the number of people. That's easy. Come on, I'll count to 3. Those who think that our most beautiful, most powerful, most perfect Jun Mo Xia is not a demon, raise your hands. Walala dash." Without waiting for Xiao Yunchuan to count 1, 2, 3, all the hands were raised. After all, there were tens of thousands of students in Dragon Soar and Star Union. Moreover, there were also the 3 mighty armies. For a moment, the people standing on the hillside watching the devil-slaying conference felt as if they could see countless hands waving in front of them. Xiao Yunchuan raised his hand and motioned everyone to put down their hands. "Alright, now it's the villain's turn to express his opinion. Cultivators present, if you really have the heart to frame this godlike girl as an evil spirit, then raise your hands." "Damn it. What do you mean it's the villain's turn to express his opinion? How were they supposed to raise their hands?" The number of people raising their hands in the square was sparse, forming a sharp contrast with the scene of hundreds responding to a single call. For the Demon-Slaying Alliance, the awkward scene was the jubilation of Mu Yan's side. Who was the one who said that we need to rely on numbers to determine whether our Jun Mo Xia is a demon or not? Come on. Do you think we're scared of numbers? Ha ha ha, this laughter, this ridicule, was like one resounding slap after another, landing on everyone's faces. All the cultivators present had ugly expressions on their faces. Chapter 3053. Especially Jing Tianyi and Chu Xinyan, the gloomy killing intent in their eyes can almost be seen. But Xiao Yunchuan is still beaming as he says, "It seems that everyone also has a conscience, knowing what is right and what is wrong. Hey, that girl holding the mirage stone, I'm talking about you. You're young, and you look cute, how come your ears aren't very good? Did you use the mirage stone to properly record the bitter comparison of the votes just now? Our great god June's prestige is very high, we must let everyone in the world see it. Oh, that's right, by the way, remember to show this young master's elegant and suave demeanor to the girls." Ye Shui's teeth creak as she clenches them. She almost smashes the mirage stone in her hand on Xiao Yunchuan's face. Nonsense. Shui Zhaoguang roars, suddenly releasing the pressure of a crossing tribulation cultivator. Where do you think this is, that you can behave atrociously as you please? Xiao Yunchuan's complexion pales, and the blood in his body churns. However, before he can feel much pain, the tinkling of the zither rang in his ears. In a split second, his body feels like it's been injected with a gurgling warm current. Not to mention that all the negative states have been cleared, he even feels that his originally somewhat blocked meridians have become incomparably smooth. And it's not just Xiao Yunchuan who has this feeling, everyone in the three legions has it. They look at Mayan with surprise and delight. At this time, Mayan's line of sight falls on Shui Zhaoguang, the corners of her mouth hooking up into a smile that isn't a smile. Shui Zhaoguang, if you dare to bully the weak again, don't blame me for making you lose face in public. Shui Zhaoguang's complexion turns green and white, the corners of his mouth twitching. He wants to curse, he wants to ruthlessly slap this audacious woman. But he doesn't dare. Because the zither that Mayan just played not only lifted the negative states on Xiao Yunchuan and the others. It also gave him a deterrent. At this moment, the spiritual energy in his dantian is still tumbling like a whirlpool, and he has a hard time suppressing the desire to vomit blood. And all this was caused by this girl's casual plucking of the zither string. Shui Zhaoguang's heart is filled with indescribable fear. June Mayan, just how strong is she now? Was it really something they could deal with now? June Mayan, do you think that you can cover up the crimes of you, the unfettered seven devils, by bewitching these mobs to come to the devil-slaying assembly and cause a disturbance? Jing Tianyi had already calmed down. He didn't release his pressure like Shui Zhaoguang, but he only used his spiritual condensed voice line to say a single sentence. He easily and skillfully suppressed the voices of the tens of thousands of people. After suppressing the three legions, Jing Tianyi turned to the other cultivators and said, "Have you forgotten the cries of the victims? You've only been slightly bewitched by these demons and monsters, and you believe their nonsense. Are you completely led by the nose by them? If all of you are so indecisive and allow evil to do as they please, who will seek justice for these suffering people? Who will return peace to the cultivation continent?" Jing Tianyi lived up to his reputation as the cleansing Le Pavilion sect master. After hearing his words, the people who had been shaken by the teacher-student relationship of Soaring Dragon immediately became determined. Chapter 3054. Longting was destroyed and blood flowed like a river. It was indeed a pity. But wasn't this the same as them colluding with evil spirits? Su Shiqing and the others immediately burst into tears. "My poor daughter. Even if father has to risk his life today, he will seek justice for you. Uncle, if I'm not mistaken, the girl lying on the stretcher is Su Lui, right?" Xiao Yunchuan suddenly spoke at this time. Su Shiqing raised his head and looked at Xiao Yunchuan with his red and swollen eyes. "Yes? Do you know my daughter?" Xiao Yunchuan immediately showed a pained expression. Oh, how did Miss Su become like this? This Gongzi remembers that she was originally an outstanding beauty. At that time in the Woodfern's secret realm, this Gongzi was fortunate enough to travel with Miss Su for a while, and I still feel deeply honored. When Su Shiqing heard this, he immediately thought that Xiao Yunchuan was also his daughter's former pursuer, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Xiao Gongzi, do you know who caused my daughter to become like this? It's that. Xiao Yunchuan slapped the folding fan in his hand and lightly interrupted Su Shiqing's words. Of course I know who caused Miss Su to become like this. Presumably, everyone who experienced the collapse of the Woodfern secret realm knows. Su Shiqing became even more excited. Since Xiao Gongzi knows and can't forget my daughter, how can you not avenge my daughter? Xiao Yunchuan sighed, revealing an embarrassed expression, but the problem is, the one who harmed Miss Su is herself. How can I avenge her? Don't tell me I should kill her with my own hands and set her free. What nonsense are you talking about? Su Shiqing's complexion immediately changed. I know, you want to clear your master's name, that demoness Jun Mayan's name, so you want to falsely accuse my daughter. My poor daughter has become like this now, but she's still being framed by you. Don't. Xiao Yunchuan's tone was flustered, but the smile on his face was frivolous. I'm most afraid of people crying. It's better if it's a beautiful pear blossom in the rain, but you're an old man, crying really makes me lose my appetite. Su Shiqing, he almost fainted from anger. Xiao Yunchuan, Uncle Su, you still don't believe me. Then I have no choice but to give you the evidence. As he spoke, he took out a large stack of paper from his bosom and shook it lightly. TSK, fortunately, this young master has foresight. As long as I see a beautiful woman, I will let my subordinate secretly use photographic talismans to record every frown and smile of the beautiful woman. Otherwise, even if Uncle wants evidence today, this young master can't produce it. Su Lui, who was lying on the stretcher, abruptly opened her eyes wide. Her body trembled uncontrollably as she groaned. Su Shiqing's expression also became extremely ugly. What photographic talisman? We don't have time to watch you play these tricks. However, Xiao Yunchuan didn't care about them. As he infused the talisman with his spiritual power, a series of scenes immediately appeared. From the very beginning, Su Lui had wanted to kill them and steal their treasures, but in the end, she was robbed instead. Eventually, the outer layer of the Woodfern's secret realm collapsed. Su Luo relied on the precious Zijin belt in her hands to wantonly humiliate Mayan. Then, Mu Yan took out the mutated soul-fixing talisman and saved the lives of thousands of cultivators by herself. But the main culprit, Su Lui, also suffered the consequences of her own actions. One by one, everything that happened in the outer layer of the Woodfern's secret realm was clearly displayed before everyone's eyes. Chapter 3055. At this moment, even those who hated Mayan the most couldn't find fault with her. Su Lui only had herself to blame, so let's not talk about it for now. The most important thing was the cultivators who were almost swallowed by the swamp and the monster. Their lives were all saved by Jun Mayan. Even if many of them paid a huge amount of crystals. But at least they saved their lives. Moreover, they were the ones who scolded Mayan first. Letting them pay with crystals was already very benevolent. The square fell into a strange silence for a while. Chinda, who was standing behind Xiao Yunchuan, suddenly stepped forward and pointed at one of them. You just said that God Jun robbed you of your treasures in the Woodfern's secret territory, leaving you with nothing. But why don't you tell me who was the one who wanted to rob Jun Emosia in the first place? Later, when the secret territory's periphery collapsed, who was the one who begged God Jun for the mutated soul-locking talisman to save their lives? This person was also one of the people who had just come out from the Demon Slayer Hall to accuse Mayan. Now that Chenda was pointing at his nose and questioning him, his face flushed red. He stammered for a long time, but couldn't say a word. This kind of behavior really spoke volumes. Xiao Yunchuan sneered and looked at Su Shiqing. Now, Uncle Su, do you still want to seek justice for your daughter? What kind of righteous position do you want to stand on to seek justice for your selfish and vicious daughter? Su Shiqing was momentarily speechless. After a long while, he said, "Is this the only crime Mayan has committed? Even if there was a misunderstanding regarding Luoi's matter, did everyone else have a misunderstanding?" Xiao Yunchuan unfolded his folding fan and waved it gently. He said unhurriedly, "Haha, don't worry, Uncle Su. Isn't this the reason why we, the devastating Fall Army, have gathered here from thousands of miles away?" Paw. He abruptly closes his folding fan, and his sharp gaze sweeps over everyone who has accused Mu Yen. "I heard and saw every one of your accusations against God Jun in the Tianguang ruins. The Liangchen army and the Xiaoyao army might not know what's going on, and they might not be able to help. But at least half of our men from the Qingqing army have personally experienced those things with Jun Mo Xie. Didn't you want to smear Jun Mo Xie's reputation? Then today, my Qingqing army will fight with you one by one. Whether Jun Mayan is a god or a demon, is she our faith, or is she the heinous scoundrel that you speak of? Today, we will let everyone in the Xiuzhen continent witness it with their own eyes." These words were sonorous and forceful, and it instantly pushed the atmosphere of the scene to its climax. Yashua's hand, which was holding the mirage stone, unconsciously trembled, and she couldn't help but glance at Jing Tianyi. However, Jing Tianyi couldn't care less about that now. He glared at Xiao Yunchuan with a murderous look in his eyes. His perfect plan, the situation that he had finally managed to turn around with great difficulty, was actually destroyed by this good-for-nothing young master time and time again. Xiao Yunchuan's cultivation base wasn't high, and his family background was ordinary. But his glib tongue had actually become the greatest obstacle to the devil-slaying meat. Damn it! He should have pinched this clown to death from the very beginning. Jing Tianyi's cold gaze shifted to the side. Two figures quietly appeared in the demon-slaying hall, and then disappeared. As soon as Xiao Yunchuan's voice fell, several people from the devastating Fall army quickly came forward, as if they had discussed it beforehand. Chapter 3056. Seeing the first girl to speak, Mayan's expression is clearly startled. Wei Zi. This little girl with low cultivation and talent can be said to be the first person Mayan met in the Xiuzhen continent. She was saved by Mayan in the Heavenly Fragrance House, and followed her all the way from Minlu Jia to Qingyun Jia. The two of them parted ways after the sect selection competition had ended. Wei Zi went to the Misty Cloud sect, while Mayan went to the Xiaoyao school. When they parted, the little girl pulled her and cried very sadly, her face full of reluctance. But as time passed, Mayan experienced many things, and gradually forgot about this little girl. But at this moment, that timid and lowly girl is standing in front of her with her head held high. Arguing with others for her, doing things that she's not good at for her. Ning Hai, do you still remember me? Wei Zi shows a fierce look and glares at the cowering middle-aged man, saying sternly, "Don't think that you can make irresponsible remarks and frame the young miss just because it's been a long time. What did the Ning family do back then? What did Ning Yuqing and Ning Zongzi do? Others might not know, but as the Ning family's housekeeper, don't you know?" Back then, the little girl who couldn't even speak fluently was now retelling what the Ning family had done in the past in a loud and clear voice. They captured innocent female cultivators and sold them to brothels. Those with good talent were given to high-level cultivators as cultivation furnaces, while those with poor talent were wasted in brothels for the rest of their lives, suffering all kinds of humiliation. And all of this, the Ning family is the main culprit. Countless disdainful and hateful gazes are cast on Ning Hai. It makes his whole body shrink into a ball, trembling non-stop, beads of sweat rolling down his forehead. Of course, he knows how many people in Minlu Jia were harmed by the Ning family back then. When they heard that the Ning family was burned down, how many people applauded. While Wei Zi was narrating, a few veiled ladies from the beautiful city army had already stepped forward. Their cultivations were extremely low, and some of them were even mortals. However, when faced with so many high-level cultivators on the Demon Slaughter Plaza, they gritted their teeth and rolled up their sleeves, revealing the bloody slave brand of the Heavenly Fragrant Pavilion to prove Wei Zi's words. Finally, a slightly older woman said in a slightly hoarse voice, "You lofty and selfish almighty cultivators, you only see Miss June slaughtering, but why don't you see how many people she has saved and how many people she has given hope and courage to live?" The eyes of the low-grade female cultivators from the Minlu realm widened at the woman's words, and they couldn't help but reveal mocking smiles. "Ha, of course you don't know, and you don't want to know. Because in your eyes, we trash mortals are only ants that are low to the point of being in the dust. No matter if we live or die, what does it have to do with you? You're only concerned about whether your own interests have been damaged or not. How could there be treasures to snatch? When you can't take it by force, you can beat it into a demon. Only then will it be convenient for you to gang up on it and do whatever you want, right?" The cultivators on the Demon Slaughter Plaza, they felt as if their faces were being slapped again, and they didn't know how many times they had been slapped. At this moment, they were truly ashamed, angry, and embarrassed, and they wished they could find a hole to hide in. However, not only was there no hole, but it was also under the watchful eyes of everyone. Not only was it under the watchful eyes of everyone, but there were even mirage stones transmitting the scenes on the plaza to every corner of the cultivation continent. Chapter 3057. In the truest sense, he had embarrassed himself in front of the entire continent. Jing Tianyi finally could not bear it any longer as he said sternly, "Turn off the Mirage Stone and cut off the transmission between the Heavenlight Ruins and the various major cities." Ever since the beautiful city army appeared, Yishuang, who was holding the Mirage Stone, felt uneasy. Upon hearing the order, it was as if she had been granted amnesty as she immediately withdrew the energy she injected into the Mirage Stone. At this moment, the second wave of people from the beautiful city army walked out. The leader was a youth with a round face. The moment he appeared, he began to interrogate the Leaf Fire sect elder Qian Feng's soul. "Qian, do you have any shame? Do you think we did not participate in the Azure Cloud World sect selection? Do you think we do not know how your nephew Qian Hongxiao died? He went to a female cultivator's tent in the middle of the night to do something improper, but in the end, he was bitten alive while having sex with a female cultivator, becoming a cripple who lost all his cultivation. Back then, Qian Hongxiao's disgraceful state was seen by all the cultivators who participated in the sect selection. Now, you actually want to distort the truth and call a deer a horse. Do you think we are dead? Qian Feng, you don't spout nonsense." "How am I spouting nonsense? Everyone here had participated in that year's sect selection. Everyone can testify for me, don't you think so?" "Yes." Back then, Elder Qian wanted his nephew to marry Miss June. After being rejected, he flew into a rage out of humiliation. He wanted his nephew to force himself on her, but in the end, he went for wool and came home shorn. He even lost his nephew. Do you really think we are blind and can't see through this shady business? Ha 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 ha. Why is Elder Qian so fierce? You want to hit me. But my cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds, and now I seem to be stronger than you. If you have the ability, come and hit me, ha ha ha. Qian Fang's eyes rolled back as he fainted. Seeing Qian Feng so infuriated, the group immediately cheered as if they had won a battle. As for Mu Yan, she fell into a trance for a moment when she saw the leader, the round-faced youth. She still recognized this person. Yi Huan. The youth who kept chasing after her during the Azure Cloud World sex selection, chattering non-stop and calling her boss. Mu Yan would still occasionally think of Wei Zi, that little girl. As for Yi Huan and the group of followers whom she had temporarily met in the sex selection, they had long been forgotten by her. But at this moment, they were all here. Not only Wei Zi and Yi Huan, but also many people whose faces she couldn't even remember. One by one, they walked forward and engaged in a verbal battle with the victims that the Demon Extermination Alliance had carefully arranged. One by one, he used clear facts to distinguish and refute all the accusations against her and argued for what was right. They clearly knew how dangerous and cruel the Devil Slaughtering Conference was. She clearly knows that if she supports Jun Mayan at this time, she will be condemned by everyone. However, these people were merely strangers who she had met by chance and had received a small favor from her. However, he had thrown caution to the wind and stood in front of her, not allowing her to suffer any grievances. Mu Yan feels that the rims of her eyes are a little moist. In her previous life, she had always thought that heaven and earth were heartless, and that the world was fickle and cold. Everyone was only living for themselves. However, only after being reborn did she realize how much she had missed out on in her previous life. Not everyone would be like Gong Qinxue, repaying kindness with enmity and deliberately deceiving others. There were also people who received a drop of kindness, and wanted to repay it with a gushing spring. These people might not be strong enough, not perfect enough, but they were willing to do everything they could to repay that bit of kindness. Chapter 3058. These people shouldn't be buried in the selfishness and schemes of those so-called almighty cultivators like dust and sand. They should have a wider sky, a better future. Mayan's eyes twinkle, her fingertips lightly pluck on the strings, producing a single sweet sound. An hourglass has been placed next to the Tian Mo Qin, ticking to record the passage of time. It's now 9:15. The corners of Mayan's lips gently curve up. There's no hurry, it's not the time yet. The people of the devastating city army go up one by one to talk to those victims. The atmosphere in the entire demon-slaying square is also extremely awkward. And those onlookers are also looking at Jing Tianyi, Chu Xinyan, and everyone in the demon-slaying alliance with strange gazes. That was because the words spoken by the members of the false city army were simply too logical and convincing. And those victims all look flustered and incoherent. It's very obvious that there's a lot of fishy going on. It's not that they don't want to lie. But from the very beginning, Xiao Yunchuan used the irrefutable evidence of the photographic talisman to give Su Shiqing and his daughter a thunderous blow. It's also like killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, intimidating everyone. What if they continue to lie, and the other party takes out the photographic talisman? What if the devastating city army has even more powerful evidence? These people are terrified, panicking. Thus, it's clear at a glance who has a clear conscience and who has a guilty conscience. In particular, no one expected that there are actually quite a few female cultivators who escaped from Fusang City in the devastating city army. On that day, the unfettered Seven Sons bore the infamy of massacring the city. The biggest reason is that they didn't want to expose these girls, who are better off escaping from the sea of suffering, in front of others. They are all too clear that if people know what happened to these female cultivators, along with sympathy, there will also be disdain and ridicule. The female cultivators who escaped from Fusang City are obviously also very clear about this. So, for the next half a year, they either concealed their identities or lied to cover up, not letting others know what kind of hell they had experienced. But this time, when their benefactor is wantonly framed, they still choose to abandon their personal honor and stand up. When they told the public what Fusang City had done word by word and in tears, most of the cultivators present were stunned. When Fusang City was massacred, the news about the men abusing the women in the city was vaguely spread. However, most of the information was vague, and erroneous. How could they have imagined that there was such extreme evil in the world? More than 1,000 years, a whole 1,000 years. That man in the city, every day and every night, tormented women for fun. They treated women as goods, as spiritual pets, as slaves that could be trampled on and slaughtered at will. Could all the male cultivators in that city be called humans? They were worse than animals. The cultivators in the square were in an uproar. Someone shouted, "Good kill." This sound was like pouring a ladle of water into boiling oil, instantly causing it to boil violently. My aunt disappeared near Fusang City. Could it be that she was harmed by those beasts? These scum should all be killed. When the unfettered Seven Sons massacred the city of sin, it wasn't killing the innocent. It was simply getting rid of evil for the people. If it were me, I would want to tear them into pieces. Chapter 3059. 1 second to remember, LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. So, what did the Xiaoyao Seven Sons do in the end, that they must be beaten into demons? Great God, June killed people, but she clearly killed people who deserved to be killed. How could she be a demon? Xiao Yunchuan listens to the discussions around him, looking at the puzzled expressions on everyone's faces. His tense nerves finally relax. There's a heartfelt smile on his face. That's great, everyone finally knows how good of a person Jun Mayan is. Even if doing so won't have a big impact on the overall situation. Because he was born in Ziyunjia, he knows all too well. Does the so-called demon-slaying alliance really want to slay demons and uphold justice? Obviously not. They want to kill Jun Mayan, they want to kill the Xiaoyao Seven Sons, and it's never for the benefit of good and evil. It's because Jun Mayan has the treasure that they yearn for even in their dreams. An ordinary man is innocent, but a treasure becomes a crime. They were just greedy and wanted to snatch it away because of the benefits involved. Therefore, even if the Xiaoyao Seven Sons prove their innocence, the outcome of this demon-slaying assembly will not change. Even he, Xiao Yunchuan, and the entire Xiao family will become the target of public criticism. But he, Xiao Yunchuan, has always been like this, hasn't he? All the beauties in the world are delicate flowers that need to be protected, not to mention a peerless beauty like Mei Yin. In order to protect such a beauty, even if he is consigned to eternal damnation, he will gladly endure it. Almost as soon as this thought flashes through his mind, two powerful energy fluctuations come flying from both sides, one from the left and one from the right. Xiao Yunchuan feels as if his body is caught between an iceberg and a sea of fire. The pain is torturous, and he can't move. He immediately knows that he guessed right. The one who led this reversal of public opinion, washing away the name of the Xiaoyao Seven Sons as demons, has become a thorn in the eyes of these so-called upright sections. They won't allow him to live. Xiao Yunchuan is aware of this, but there's not much fear in his heart. He just has some regrets. With great difficulty, he found an idol that he can support and follow. With great difficulty, he has a group of like-minded companions. He wants to enjoy it for a while more. Clang. Suddenly, he hears a stirring sound of a zither. Immediately after, the cold and scorching heat on his body disappear without a trace, just like dust being washed away by water. Two screams rang out one after the other. Then, two figures fell from the sky and landed on the ground with a thud. Their bodies twitched for a moment, and then they stopped moving. Mayan presses her hand on the Tian Mo Chin and sneers, unable to reason with them, they want to carry out an assassination. The demon-slaying alliance is really benevolent and moral. The whole place was dead silent. Some of them had yet to react to this sudden turn of events. However, there were also people who were horrified when they saw the corpse on the ground. That was because they were two leaving Aperture Realm high-tier cultivators. Also, they were Shouja who wore the uniform of the Uniform Sect, and were most skilled in hiding and assassination. And just now, everyone saw it. The two of them wanted to silently kill Xiao Yunchuan to serve as a warning to the rest of the Qing army. However, Jun Mayan only plucks the strings twice. Just like that, he was able to kill two high-tier leaving Aperture Realm assassins. What kind of powerful divine sense was this? What kind of terrifying strength was that? Jing Tianyi's complexion can no longer be described as unsightly. The hands hanging by his side are tightly clenched to suppress the malevolence and distortion of his face. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zai.net. Chapter 3060. 1 second to remember LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Destroyed. Completely destroyed. When the truth of Mayan being Yi Liangchen was revealed in Divine Elephant City, he still disapproved of the so-called Liangchen Great Army, and devastatingly great army. That kind of motley crew could just join in the fun and shout slogans. If they were to fight openly, what could they do? Even if there were thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people, their cultivation levels were different, and there was no tacit understanding between them. As soon as the battle started, this group of people would quickly collapse like a plate of loose sand, unable to withstand a single blow. Their threat was not even comparable to that of the group of immature students from Longting. But how could Jing Tianyi have thought of this? Devastatingly great army, and Liangchen Great Army, could not fight, but they had thousands of mouths, rich experience in quarreling, and a large amount of evidence in their hands that could make him speechless. His meticulous planning, his step-by-step calculation, and the gimmick of killing the unfettered 7 demons that he had stirred up with great difficulty was actually so easily destroyed by this group of motley crew. Even the 2 top assassins of the Purple Cloud Realm that he had sent to kill Xiao Yunchuan in order to make an example of this group of people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, were easily destroyed by Mayan in the end. His face and reputation had been completely thrown away in an instant. What demon-slaying alliance! What righteous master! At this moment, they had all become a laughingstock. 2019-09-26 The clans that had been forced to join the demon-slaying alliance by moral coercion felt exalted and unspeakably carefree. Su Mingyue looked at the ashen-faced Jing Tianyi and Chu Xinyan, then looked at the mirage stone that had long been shut down. He couldn't help but sneer. Alliance Master Jing must have spent a lot to set up these 108 teleportation arrays and broadcast all the images to the major cities through Tianguang ruins, right? It would be such a waste to not broadcast it. Pfft. Alliance Master Jing wanted to broadcast it, but it was really too shameful. If it continued, the demon-slaying alliance would have no place to put its face. Lan Yitian suddenly stood up and sneered. I already said that my Lan royal family has no interest in bullying the younger generation. Now that this farce has been seen enough, we can go. My Duan clan is also leaving. Wen Bin, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and follow me back. Dragon Tiger sect won't get involved either. He watched as the various sect leaders and family heads stood up and prepared to leave. The remaining people who had already chosen to join the Demon Extermination Alliance felt like they were being roasted on a fire, unable to come down. However, at this moment, suddenly, a creepy laughter rang out in front of the Demon Slayer Palace. Who said you can leave? Chu Xinyan leisurely walked out of the demon-slaying hall. As he took off his gloves, he used a sinister and greedy gaze to stare at the white-clothed girl in front of the chaotic tower. As soon as the gloves disappeared, his wrinkled hands that looked like old tree bark were revealed. Such a pair of hands formed a sharp contrast with his youthful and smooth face. In addition to that pair of eagle-like eyes that did not conceal the malice, it made him and the others exude a somewhat sinister and terrifying aura. Lan Etienne and the others who were about to leave stopped in their tracks. Even Jing Tianyi looked at him in surprise. Marquis Chu, you, shut up, trash. Chu Xinyan leisurely interrupted Jing Tianyi's words. The word trash caused Jing Tianyi's face to turn green and pale. Chu Xinyan, what do you mean by this? Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 3061. 1 second. Remember LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Chu Xinyan sneered. This hoe originally wanted to give an idiot like you a chance, to let you and Jun Mayan fight to the death first, and then this hoe would reap the benefits of the fisherman. I didn't expect a trash like you to be so useless. A few trashy ants. With just a few words, you didn't even have the strength to fight back. Since you're useless, then get away from me and obediently listen to my orders. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Chu Xinyan. Jing Tianyi roared in disbelief, I am the Alliance Master. Chu Xinyan didn't even bat an eyelid. I admit that you are the Alliance Master. I don't admit that you are nothing. What do you say? When he asked the last sentence, Chu Xinyan's eyes swept over the people sitting in the square. He saw Miao Yu, Xiahou Zun, Su Qianquan, and Xue Xiaoguang all walk to Chu Xinyan's side, bowing to him. What made Jing Tianyi even more aghast was that among these cultivators, there was also Honglan and Pei Yi, the patriarch of the Horton tribe. In the blink of an eye, he, the mighty Alliance Master, became a commander without an army. Ye Yun screamed in disbelief, Saintess, you, how could you? Honglan smiled faintly, didn't you remind me? My only goal now is to kill Mayan. And obviously, Beiding Marquis can achieve my goal. Chu Xinyan laughed. His attitude towards Honglan was still very good. Saintess has good eyes. Don't worry, you will not regret your choice. Jing Tianyi gritted his teeth as he watched this scene. After a long time, he said, Good Beiding Marquis. Good Saintess of Mulag. This old man would like to see what means you have to swallow Jun Mayan and the Xiaoyao school. Lan Etienne saw the two suddenly fighting and sneered disdainfully. He turned around and was about to leave on his flying sword. However, Chu Xinyan's next words made him suddenly turn back. King Lan, I can give you a piece of advice. Today, as long as the people of the Lan royal family take one step out of 100 Disaster City, they will all die a horrible death. Lan Etienne said with a gloomy face, Chu Xinyan, are you trying to scare us? Ha ha ha, whether it's an alarmist or not, won't you know once you try? Just as he finished speaking, Chu Xinyan had already struck out with his palm. He did not use any killing moves in this palm, but it contained a huge pushing force. One of Lan Etienne's guards was pushed a few hundred feet away. When he landed, he was already outside the range of 100 Disaster City in the Summer Ring. This guard's cultivation was not low. After falling from the sky, he rolled and stabilized his body. He lowered his head and examined himself. He didn't find anything wrong with him, and his expression was a little blank. Seeing that he was unharmed, Lan Etienne heaved a sigh of relief. Come back. Yes, Your Majesty. Upon hearing this, the guard immediately leaped forward. However, an unforeseen event happened at this moment. The guard, who had just taken a step forward, suddenly stiffened and his eyes widened. In those widened eyes, it was as if he had seen the most terrifying scene in the world. Then, people watched helplessly as the skin all over his body rapidly aged and dried up. As if the water in his body had been drained in an instant, he fell straight down. What the hell happened? Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 3062. Remember LoveNet, providing you with exciting reading. How did he suddenly turn into such a horrifying corpse? The crowd was in an uproar. Whether it was the cultivators who came to watch the show through the teleportation formation, or the sects and families who were invited to join the demon-slaying alliance, everyone had a horrified expression on their faces. This guard's appearance before his death was too horrifying. Etienne was stunned at first, then he roared and his aura suddenly exploded as he attacked Chu Xinyan. He was ranked 4th on the Azure Sky list, a top expert at the peak of the passing calamity stage. The power brought about by Etienne's outburst was absolutely extraordinary and terrifying. All the cultivators in the demon-slaying square were shocked. Those with low cultivation like the devastating city army and the Liangshan army were immediately chased into the chaotic tower by Sun Yuanzhou and the others. Otherwise, the residual pressure from the attack would have been enough to tear their souls apart. However, in the face of such an earth-shattering attack, Chu Xinyan did not panic. Instead, he looked up to the sky and laughed. Etienne, if you had erupted an hour earlier, this marquis might have been a little afraid of you. But now, you are a trapped beast in my cage, a fish on the chopping board. Do you really think I will be afraid of you? Etienne's attack was right in front of him. Chu Xinyan's eyes turned cold and he shouted, "Bind." In an instant, countless black threads shot up from the demon-slaying square and silently flew towards Etienne. Although it was said to be silent, how could it escape the divine sense of an expert at the peak of the passing calamity stage like Etienne? Almost at the moment when the black threads appeared, he had already swung his sword. A powerful wave of chi broke through the air from the tip of the sword. Like a tornado, it swept towards the black threads, instantly scattering them into a mess. The sword chi dissipated. There were no more obstacles in front of him, only Chu Xinyan's smirking face. Etienne was stunned. He raised his sword again, poured all his spiritual power into it, and slashed at Chu Xinyan. However, in the next moment, he felt a piercing pain on his wrist. Lowering his head to look, he saw that his flying sword was actually entangled with strands of black threads. These black threads were rapidly spreading upwards and had already climbed to his forearm. Etienne's heart shuddered. He had experienced many things in the world and was very experienced. At this moment, when he saw that the situation was so strange, he decisively abandoned his flying sword. He raised his hand and sealed the circulation of blood in his right hand. Sure enough, after the spiritual energy could no longer flow to his right hand, the blackness stopped climbing. It was only then that Etienne realized what was stuck to his hand. Insect. There were so many of them that they were so small that they were almost invisible to the naked eye. Because their blood vessels were sealed, these worms could only gather under his elbow and crawl with all their might to make a rustling sound. Etienne's entire right arm was in excruciating pain, and then gradually became numb. Under the crook of his elbow, where the insects were sparse, he could vaguely see the scene of wrinkled skin wrapped around bones. The flesh on his arm was sucked dry. This scene was almost exactly the same as that of the guard who died outside 100 Distress City. Imperial Father. Lan Huahong cried out in alarm. He wanted to rush forward, but was held back by Lan Feng. Your Highness, that thing is strange. Even His Majesty can't control it. You must not go forward. It was just as Lan Feng had said. These insects were incomparably strange. Seeing that His Majesty was in trouble, the guards of the Lawn royal family naturally had to go forward to rescue him. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 3063. 1 second. Remember LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. However, they only got a little closer to Lonetian. Those little bugs that were crawling on Lonetian's hand fiercely pounced on him. The lowest cultivation of these guards was at the yuanying stage. But facing these tiny bugs, they did not even make a sound. Their flesh and blood were sucked dry, and they became dry corpses. Lonetian roared, "Don't come over." Dr. Liang quickly stepped forward. He did not dare to get close to Lonetian, so he could only use his divine sense to check. However, he instantly sucked in a breath of cold air. Soul-crushing 100 venomous insects. It turned out to be the 100 venomous soul-destroying insects. Didn't this thing go extinct 1,000 years ago? Ah, old Liang, you know what's good for you. Chu Xinyan chuckled. He seemed to be in a very good mood. Lonetian, you usually look down on me, but you never thought that you would be schemed against one day, right? Lonetian stared at Chu Xinyan fiercely. You did something in the Summer ring. Tisk, tsk, tsk. You finally found out. Chu Xinyan's gaze swept over the heads of the families who were about to leave. His expression was indescribably happy, but his eagle-like eyes were full of malice. Do you know why my Summer space is called Bai Yi City? Yi meant disaster, and Bai Yi City meant a city surrounded by disasters. Ordinary Summer spaces were usually used for people to live in, practice, compete, and study. Therefore, the names of these magic treasures were usually more festive or inspirational. And Bai Yi City was obviously against the rules of naming Summer spaces. But before that, no one had ever thought about it in this direction. At this time, when Chu Xinyan asked them, they were first shocked, and then they all showed expressions of disbelief. Because a long time ago, this treasure was not a Summer space at all. It was a container for raising venomous insects. After entering this city of raising venomous insects, as long as you stay for more than 6 hours, you will be regarded as food by the venomous insects. Since you are food, do you think these vicious venomous insects will be willing to let you escape? Lan Feng and Su Mingyu looked at Dr. Liang in shock. Dr. Liang frowned and let out a long sigh. What he said is true. The origin of the 100 venomous insects soul trap is already unknown, but there is indeed a saying that if you stay inside for too long, you will become the food of the venomous insects. Without master's orders, the speed at which the 100 gu devour food is very slow, and their appetite is not great. Therefore, staying in the 100 gu vessel for a year and a half might not be life-threatening. During this period, you can even enter and leave at will. But in fact, as long as you stay in the container of 100 gu, for more than 6 hours, the eggs of the 100 gu will begin to enter the body of the living creature silently and mark it as its own food. Once the food tries to escape, the 100 gu will receive the master's order and mercilessly kill it. Paw paw paw. Chu Xinyan applauded vigorously. There was no lack of admiration in his eyes. Dr. Liang is truly worthy of being the #1 national physician. How about it? Are you interested in working for my North Ding Ho residence? I guarantee that the treatment I will give you will not be inferior to that of the Lan royal family. Dr. Liang said in a deep voice, North Ding Ho, you should know that the person who controls the soul of 100 venomous insects soul trap also has to pay a great price. Chapter 3064. Remember LoveNet, to provide you with wonderful reading. The more food the 100 gu devours, the more appetite they will have. In the end, when the food in 100 Disaster City isn't enough to feed the 100 goo, even you, the master, will suffer from the backlash. No, it's not just the master who will suffer from the backlash. When the 100 goo soul-crushing goo is truly out of control, I'm afraid that all the creatures in the Shojin continent will suffer a calamity. This is also the reason why the 100 goo soul-crushing goo was completely banned. Everyone's faces are solemn. They don't want to believe that there are already 100 goo parasitic in their bodies. However, the Lon Royal Guards had died in such a miserable manner. The densely packed little bugs crawling on Lon Etienne's hands, making their hearts sink little by little. They were invited to the demon-slaying plaza early in the morning, when the sky was just beginning to brighten. Just waiting for Mayan to come out from the beginning had already taken them more than 2 hours. Now, the scorching sun is high in the sky, and it's high noon. From the hour of the morning to the hour of the noon, it's just 6 hours. Chu Xinyan, you did this on purpose. What kind of sinister and evil method is the 100 goo soul-crushing goo, and you actually used it to deal with the Righteous Alliance? Chu Xinyan, you still dare to say that the Xiaoyao 7 are demons? I think that you are the real demon. The entire demon-slaying plaza is in chaos. The cultivators who just came through the teleportation array are panic-stricken, unable to sit or stand still, looking like they want to run away at any time. And the people from the noble families and sects have already stayed in 100 Disaster City for more than 6 hours. At this moment, they are shocked and afraid, hateful and angry. Each and every one of them wishes that they could immediately pounce on Chu Xinyan and tear him apart alive. Even Jing Tianyi suddenly comes to his senses, his face turning ashen for a moment. Chu Xinyan had already planned this from the very beginning when he agreed to give him the position of alliance leader. He knew his place and obediently listened to the commands of the alliance leader. He contributed the godly spatial treasure, 100 Disaster City, to be the temporary base of the demon-slaying alliance. Even the command of the North Ding Ho's army was given to Jing Tianyi. He made Jing Tianyi's vigilance against him gradually collapse. His heart is completely immersed in scheming against the Xiaoyao 7. But in reality, from the moment all the cultivators of the demon-slaying alliance stepped into 100 Calamity City, they had already become Chu Xinyan's pawns. There was no room for resistance at all. And in today's devil-slaying assembly, Chu Xinyan would coldly watch as he incited public opinion to suppress the unfettered 7 devils. It was not because he felt that his method was feasible. Instead, his goal from the very beginning was to stall for time. 6 hours later, 100 soul-stabbing goo entered his body. The patriarchs, sect masters, and elders of these first-rate families and sects were like fish in a net. They could no longer escape Chu Xinyan's grasp. Chu Xinyan raised his withered and wrinkled hands and wiped his lips. The expression on his face was joyful and cruel. It was obvious that he enjoyed the intense hatred and fear. Because he knew that the situation was completely under his control. From now on, he no longer needed to hide his true appearance. Because no one could escape from his palm. Suddenly, someone finally couldn't endure this kind of panic. With a loud shout, he rode his flying sword and fled. They were people who had come to watch the show through Jing Tianyi's teleportation formation. They didn't stay in 100 Calamity City for a full 6 hours. As long as they could escape, as long as they could get out of the range of the spatial treasure, they would be safe. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the website. Chapter 3065. Remember LoveNet, providing you with exciting reading. At this moment, these people were filled with regret. Why had they come to this ghastly place to join in the fun? They had wanted to see the Xiaoyao 7 become a joke. In the end, they had become the biggest joke. Looking at the people fleeing like birds and beasts, Chu Xinyan did not move at all. He had a mocking expression on his face. Alliance leader Jing, you should understand now, right? Chu Xinyan looked at Jing Tiany's fluctuating expression and showed a noble and cold smile. What the will of the people, what morals, all of that is nothing. In this cultivation world where the weak are prey to the strong, the only thing that has the right to speak is strength. Jing Tiany's heart jumped. Suddenly, as if he had realized something, he looked around abruptly. Then, a series of screams came from all directions. The cultivators that had just fled all retreated in a sorry state. Following behind this group of cultivators was crushing, driving, and slaughtering. It was the Xiuzha army. It was the army of 100,000 formed by the North Ding Marquis and the Horton tribe's armored guards. Jing Tiany was very clear about the strength of the armored guards. The entire army was equipped with 8th-grade defensive armor, and their cultivation was above Jindan. Even a small team of 3 to 5 people would be hard to deal with this kind of army. What's more, it was a vast and mighty army with great teamwork. Looking at the North Ding Marquis' army. This army was completely different from normal Xiuzha armies. There was not much Ling power flowing around them. At a glance, one would think that they were just ordinary mortals and low-level body-forging cultivators. However, when they raised their blades to attack, threads of black energy would surge out of their bodies. The black energy carried fiendish power. If it wrapped around a cultivator, it would cause the Ling power in their body to be unable to circulate. Yet, they did not seem to fear pain. No matter how many times they were stabbed, they would roar and charge forward. When they killed, their viciousness caused people to tremble in fear. The long blades in their hands swung out. In an instant, a head would roll off, or half a body would fly into the air. Their crimson eyes were filled with bloodthirsty excitement as they looked at this hellish scene. Not only did they show no fear, but they were also filled with bloodthirsty excitement. These monsters did not look like orthodox Ling Xiuzha. It was clearly a demonic creature. This was a troop of true demon soldiers. The Demon Massacre Plaza was filled with wails of ghosts and howls of wolves. There were sounds of begging and cursing. The smell of blood became thicker and thicker. It was so thick that it choked the nose and made one's heart sink. Although the beautiful city army and the Good Day army were hiding in the chaotic tower, they were not affected. However, when he looked at the scene outside, he still felt a chill down his spine. How could these people have thought of that? They had originally thought that they were here to join in on the fun, to gloat over the devil-slaying conference. In the end, it became a place where they had nowhere to run. Seeing innocent cultivators being killed one after another, Kong Yuanzhou's heart was filled with rage. He wanted to rush out to save her, but he thought of something and suppressed his urge. His gaze turns to Jun Mayan. The young girl's face was as white as snow, and her brows were sparse, as if she was indifferent to everything that was happening in front of her. However, the hands on his knees were tightly clenched into fists. The hourglass on the Tian Imo Qin flows silently. It was like hope was approaching, but it was also like a death warrant. Kong Yuanzhou took a deep breath and closed his eyes. No, there's still not enough time. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the Self-Love website. Chapter 3066. 1 second. Remember, LoveNet, to provide you with exciting reading. Now was not the time to be impulsive and ruin the original plan. Otherwise, it would place Miss June, the unfettered Seven Sons, and the tens of thousands of people in the chaotic tower in danger. On the Demon Slaughter Plaza, Chu Xinyan did not really want to kill everyone. About a quarter of an hour later, the cultivators who wanted to resist were finally afraid. They curled up together, suppressing their hatred and fear. They knelt down in front of Chu Xinyan, begging him to spare their lives. Those who were already possessed by the 100 venomous soul-crushing insects. Each of them was filled with hatred, but what could they do? Compared to these low-level cultivators who were kneeling and begging for mercy, they were the ones whose lives Chu Xinyan held in his hands. You say resist? What kind of joke was this? Even Lan Tian, who was ranked 4th on the green sky roll, had suffered greatly from the soul-crushing venom. Now, he could only desperately suppress the 100 venomous insects from eroding his body. He no longer had the strength to fight against Chu Xinyan. If Lan Tian could not do it, how could anyone else? In the end, these tribulation-passing cultivators, who had always been high and mighty, suppressed their resentment and returned to their seats. Chu Xinyan was very satisfied with the tactfulness of these people. He waved his hand. The entire 100 disaster city seemed to have received some sort of command, and it began to expand rapidly. The terrain at the foot of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range was originally uneven. But as 100 Calamity City expanded, the bumpy terrain and the plants above were instantly flattened as if they were dry weeds and rotten wood. Soon, the entire 100 disaster city turned into a huge circular plaza. At the very center was the demon-slaying hall, and facing it was the chaotic tower. At the center of the core were the patriarchs and sect masters of the various families who were still sitting on their wooden chairs. Standing behind the carved chairs were the trembling cultivators who had been forced to stay behind. And on the outermost perimeter were the iron armor guards and the north-ranking Marquis army that surrounded the entire square. At this time, the number of people in 100 Disaster City was so great that it could not be described with words. If one looked down from the peak of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range, one would discover that the seemingly small area was filled with people, and their auras were overflowing. At least half of the high-grade cultivators on the cultivation continent were gathered here. If these people died at the foot of Mount Feng, this world would be turned upside down. The devil-slaying conference has only just begun. Chu Xinyan retracts his hand and smiles at the white-clothed girl in front of the chaotic tower. Jun Mayan, are you satisfied with the extravagance this marquis has arranged for you? Mayan hooks up the corner of her lips. What I admire even more is Marquis Chu's shamelessness. You've already done this much, yet you still have the nerve to call it a devil-slaying assembly. One of the cultivators standing behind the carved chair couldn't help but mutter angrily in a low voice, you guys are obviously the real evil devils. You're really a fucking thief calling thief, you don't care about death. Before the man could finish his words, Miao Yu, who was sitting next to Chu Xinyan, suddenly giggled. The next moment, his figure had already disappeared from where he stood. Ah! Save! A series of screams rang out. When the crowd came to their senses, they saw several bloody corpses that had been disemboweled and thrown in the middle of the square. Miao Yu was still giggling when he returned to his seat. It was as if she had not flown out at all, nor had she cruelly slaughtered a few people. Chu Xinyan didn't even spare a glance at these corpses. He only looked at Mayan with a smile. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zai. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.